amazing builders. It's a ecosystem of builders in itself, right? So we got to remember that there's a community of holders and community of builders, and that's what I love about it. But without further ado, let's get it over to Jeff. He has a meeting in a bit. So Jeff is the founder of Recursiverse. If you've been in the space, then you definitely know what that is. Doing some great things over there. There's a marketplace, BRC 420, that's you can integrate into Bitmap and Bitmap Metaverse. But I'll go ahead and pass it over to you, Jeff. Would love to hear what you guys are building. I know you're constantly head down building, and explain to the community, what you guys got coming.
Yeah, hi, thank you guys. I'm very happy to be here. I have like six different meetings today, so you guys should know how hot the Ordinal space is. And we had a Bitcoin hacker camp today with OKX this afternoon, and I think most of them got invested or something, and it was a great time. And also, we are going to the Taipei Blockchain Week. There's a Ordinals summit there. I think Casey is going, Domo is going. I think most people are going. So if you guys are going, just let me know. We'll be having some parties there. Yeah. So we have lots of things to say today because I haven't been here for a while. So I will try to make it as simple as short as I can, so I can save some time for Q&A. First, we're about to launch the function called Bitmap Market next Monday or Tuesday. So basically, everyone can set up a personal marketplace on your Bitmap. So right now, you're buying stuff from Ordinals Wallet, Unisat, OKX, Magic Eden, whatever. But then you can actually set up a marketplace on Bitmap. I mean, not only for yourself, but also for your community, for your team, even OKX and ID Club and Unisat, they can set up an immersive marketplace on Bitmap. So basically, the function is when you go into your Bitmap, we ask you, do you want to copy listings? So basically, you can copy all your listings from Magic Eden, OKX, and Unisat. So that's easier for you if you have like 1,000 inscriptions. You don't have to, list them like again. So basically, that helps you to copy all the listings, and then of course you can list or unlist or update the price of your stuff, and also you can put up like the assets you own, but you don't want to list. Like for example, if you have like 100K already, and you just want to brag about it, so you can put that already in your Bitmap, so everybody can see that okay, you are OG, or you are like a real Ordi or Sats or Track or RAS holder, and then you can do more than that in the future. So if you are Goose community, you can set up a place like a big Bitmap for Goose and you can show all the stuff there, and then you can do some launchpad for new stuff. I mean, there are communities building new NFT collections for the current holders, so you can of course do that. And if you guys try the Bitmap Explorer, of course you can speak there. It supports like over 1,000 people speaking there, so you'll be like a very immersive like a TikTok kind of thing, and to sell stuff there. And also you can do like token gated, so you can make sure like all the people who can come in is like the holder of your assets. And next Monday we'll be launching our mobile version, so you can use that on Xverse app right now, and you can use that on OKX wallet. I think on Thursday, because they are still like providing APIs for us. We're actually working very close with OKX right now. We have 3 different projects working together. So next Thursday, you can use Bitmap Explorer on OKX wallet. And as soon as Unisat launch their first mobile app, you can definitely use us in their wallet. So there will be like a D app called a Bitmap Explorer in OKX and in Unisat. And also, we just know that there are lots of different teams, including like OKX and ID Club and Unisat. If they want to get like a huge marketplace like Costco's on Bitmap, they can lease the land from the current holders. So you don't have to sell them anymore. You can just lease your land to them, and you can make money of it. So that's something we think actual Bitmap holders can get money, can get financial benefits from holding Bitmaps. So that's the first thing, and the product's pretty cool. So you guys can check it out next Monday. And the second thing is I just want to share a little bit. Like right now we see like over 20, 30 different Bitcoin layer twos, including us. We are trying to explore that area, of course. So we heard like lots of those, like including B Square, BEVM, Bison Labs, Babylon. I think there are lots of teams doing that, and we had a great day today talking about these layer twos today afternoon. So if you guys want to know more about Bitcoin layer two, we can definitely hold another space because I think the technology right now it's pretty cool, and we have lots of Ethereum builders, Solana builders. They want to come here to partner with us to build the layer two stuff because I think they know more than more than us about how toxic the Ethereum ecosystem is right now. So I mean, they hate Ethereum more than we do, and I think we can do a lot of things on layer two than layer one. And you guys know the gas fee is too high, right? And something about the wrapped bitmap thing, we posted I think a week ago, something like that. And there are people talking about it, so I just want to clarify, and we just want to like say more details about it. So we are not taking your bitmaps, of course. That's first thing. We are building this protocol on the layer two. So first, of course, you have to make sure this layer two is safe, right? If you want to deposit Bitcoin or USDT, you have to make sure that layer two is safe, is 100% safe, or like 99% safe. So if you can do that, of course, you can use wrap Bitmap. The reason we are doing wrap Bitmap because we think that's the only way to make the price for Bitmap higher because we are not issuing any new assets, but one Bitmap for one token or for 1,000 token, whatever. But that can bring much more liquidity, much more buyers from BRC20 community because like we know most of the people who don't buy BMAPs just because they think BMAP is an NFT, they don't buy NFT, they buy tokens because they believe tokens can go on Binance, can go on Coinbase, can go on Upbit or OKX. So they buy tokens, try to make some money. So we can do that. And I mean, you don't have to because you're using BMAPs, right? If you're opening like a marketplace or a game on BMAP, of course you need them, so you don't have to do that. But for those people, I bet there are some people, just trying to make money. They can just wrap maps into tokens and make money easier. And the if the tokens price is going higher, the floor price for BMap will of course be higher because like the price should be like equal to each other. So that's the reason we did that protocol, and we didn't release any new docs yet. So we don't ask you to deposit your BMaps like to us, right? So when we release the full document, when we release the layer two testnet, everyone can check it out. So basically, that's something about the wrapping map. And last thing is about BRC420. I think some people know about BRC420, and some people probably don't. The thing is, I think the difference between BRC420 and other protocols is it's not a fungible token kind of a protocol. You actually can create content on chain, and you can like with DLC, you can create like thousands of content, including gaming avatars, including game scripts, including music. All of those things, you combine them and you inscribe them on chain, and finally you use all these content and tokenize it, make it into an asset, and then fair launch it to your holders. So your holders, they are not only your token holders, they are actually using this content. So I think that's kind of different. If you guys think it through, it's somehow different, and you actually make like the ordinals like more native with ordinals because Ordinals is like asking to inscribe content on chain. So we are working with like Ords Game, all these game companies on Ordinals. If they can inscribe the whole game, whole thing, animation, fact, avatars, models, music, if they can inscribe all of them on chain and make it one inscription DLC and then tokenize it, I think people, users, players are more than happy to hold this token because they're actually owning all these contents, not a BRC20 token, which has nothing to do with the game content, with gameplay whatsoever. So basically, that's something I like to share today. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you for that. There's a lot in that breakdown there. I definitely have some questions, but if anybody else has questions, just raise your hand like we always do. So I want to start off with the marketplace in your bitmap. Is that something that's coming on the most recent or most upcoming update, or is that something that's gonna be a little bit longer for that?
Monday, next Monday, in like 2 days.
So could you explain how that's gonna work? Is that integrated into your bitmap.rcsv? So if you go there and then you go into your bitmap, you're able to set up your marketplace. Is that how it's gonna work?
Yeah, yes.
Got it. And I'm imagining, you guys are using like an API? Is that how you're pulling everything over?
Uh, no, there's no API. There's no any extra fee. Everything on the Bitmap Explorer is 100% free. So basically, it's like the same experience of listing things on OKX or Unisat. And when you list them, you can put them into your bitmap, like different layout, whatever. You can put like Ordinals on the left, Ordi on the right, and then you can share the link on your Twitter. It's like it will be like bitmap.game slash 560. So if you own this place, right? So you can share that link on your Twitter. And because we support mobile now, and everyone can go to your Twitter profile and click that link and see your stuff, and they can directly buy stuff from you on their mobile phones.
Got it. Okay. So I definitely think that's an amazing feature adding to your platform there. So what about? I don't know if I misheard you, but I believe I heard you say that there's going to be a launch pad as well that you can utilize. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're not doing Launchpad, but we give the ability to users. So if you are from based community and you have like a big chunk of the Bitmap, right? You can set the Bitmap land as your Launchpad. So like today, 9 p.m., everyone goes there and talk to you guys, and then they can like do the Launchpad while like a Twitter Space experience. So they talk, they share, they have Q&A, and people can freely go there and browse stuff and buy stuff from it.
Gotcha. Okay, so the you would still have to set up a separate website launchpad if you want to do your own one, but basically you can use your bitmap as like kind of like a launch pad party is what you're kind of saying, right?
Yeah, and you don't have to apply or anything. We're not Magic Eden or Unisat. It's like it's open source. Everyone can do that very easily. No fees whatsoever.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Um, one more question for me, and then we'll field questions in the audience. But you just said open source. Are you guys going to make this open source for other builders to come in and contribute at any point, or is it? Are you trying to make sure that you build out the framework first, or what's your idea on that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, we will like Unisat do because right now everything you see on this Bitmap Explorer is on chain. So basically, there's nothing there on our server. They are all from the indexers from Bitcoin layer one, right? So that's the first step. And then we have some partners, including the Ethereum guys, including Ort Game, including the two projects on Ordinals. They're trying to build games on our Explorer, but the things right now is we cannot actually play games on Bitcoin layer one. If you claim you have a game on Bitcoin layer one, basically you're asking people to put money into your wallet address, right? So so we will we will launch the whole plan when we have the layer two testnet because that's when I think we can safely make sure our partners are doing things rightly because they're writing smart contracts or whatsoever on the layer two. But right now, if we open that, if you have a game on Explorer and you're asking money from the users, we can't take that risk.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, man. Everything that you just mentioned sounds really exciting. You basically touched on everything from utilizing the bitmap.rcsv bitmaps in your wallet to with marketplaces to also the wrap token. So a lot of stuff coming. Does anybody in the audience have any questions for Jeff about what recursive versus building?
Oh yeah, and I saw a comment in the comment section about asking about the Salvador thing. Yeah. So the thing is, their government, their Congress is trying to issue their national bond on chain with Bitcoin, and they are releasing that I think Q1 next year, so probably in like 2 to 3 months, and they give the rights to our partners, and also they are building a real Bitcoin city in their country. I think there are like 6 or 7 major Chinese construction teams are there right now building the city. But the real city, I think, needs like 1 year, 2 years to actually be built. And we don't know for sure if their government has enough money to actually make this happen. But building a virtual Bitcoin city on Bitmap is is very easy, right? It doesn't cost much. And so they are trying to build this digital Bitcoin city on Bitmaps, and they are saying they want to have 2 billion people living in it in 10 years, which I don't know. But I think that's great because, like, any team, any country, we welcome them, building this kind of virtual city on Bitmap. So we are helping them doing that. So that's a certain thing. We will see more information. I think next Q1 when they release the whole thing, our name, our partner's name will be there in their government website. So that's one thing. And also we have lots of new people, actually trying to do something cool with BRC 420. There's a celebrity, I think over 150 million followers. I think everyone here probably knows him. He's trying to release his first music album on Bitcoin using BRC 420. So all these musics, all these EPs are going to be on chain. And the user who bought the royalty can own this music. And the only place you can play that music is on website or on Bitmaps. So yeah, that's something I like to add.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, and also heard there was some amazing like a product on their BRC 420 marketplace. If you guys go over there, it's still minting called Resident Yagobi. If you go over there, you can mint out. I'm just kidding. No, I have played with the BRC 420 marketplace. Deployed my avatar over there, so pretty cool. It's awesome. I love the fact that there's something already out there that's connected to a metaverse or a bitmap builder in terms of a marketplace to where the community can start to monetize their creation. So really appreciate that. Shizzy, you had your hand up. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, Jeffrey. Quick question. I'm having a hard time picturing this marketplace inside of this bitmap thing you've built. Could you kind of go in depth into what it's actually going to look like? Obviously, you can't show pictures, but like what like how do you see it happening?
Yeah, so like right now, if you go into our Bitmap Explorer, you will like when you go into the land, right? It looks like your personal space. It looks like your backyard if you use the DLC to decorate it. So it will be look like a yard sale. Can you imagine that? So like some stuff on your on backyard, some stuff in your bedroom, and people can go there and browse it and buy it just directly on the Bitmap.
Okay, so like it had to be like a BRC 420s where you take it and put it there, correct?
No, 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 everything. BRC20, NFT, domain, whatever.
Oh wow. Okay, and it would just be kind of like sitting there in like one of the little squares, right?
Yeah,
And you,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it'll be like a game kind of experience. And like I said before, you can one click to copy all your listings from all the other marketplaces. So you don't have to do that again. You can just copy it and then you are done.
oh wow, that's awesome. Definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, I love innovation like this. To where you can integrate things into Bitmap, right? So I know we have multiple other Bitmap builders in here. I'm excited to hear about that as well. Any other questions before we move on to the next speaker? As I mentioned, if you have any questions, just raise your hand. If you're not on stage, request to get put up on stage. Also, we got 133 people in here, guys. Great job. And if you wouldn't mind, if you haven't already, just hit that bubble in the bottom right and retweet this so we can get as many people in here to learn about, the Bitmap ecosystem and anything ordinals that we end up talking about in here today. We appreciate each and every one of you guys being up here. But with that, seems like you answered everybody's questions, Jeff. You did a great job in breaking that down, and we look forward to hearing more about what when the release comes out this Monday as well, in the wrap tokens too. So appreciate your time.
Yeah, and Jeff will be on the Ordinal Revolution podcast hopefully this week coming up. So I cannot wait for that. We get some visuals and some shared screen for you guys to really break down what he's building over there. I'm very excited for that.
Yep, it's going to be a great one, guys. Make sure you stay tuned. I want to go to Nicola. Nicola is the founder of Ordinal Nexus. Brings some great updates and news and just insights into the space. Nicola, I'm curious to hear your perspective on. I've seen some of I follow you, so I've seen some of your tweets and posts and kind of what your feel is, but really haven't heard you speak on it. What's your feeling about like the energy that was re-injected into BRC20s, Ordinals, and then kind of where we are right now? We're in a weird place to where, most things pulled back, and then, certain things are still kind of popping off, but most things have calmed down. What's your feeling about that, and where do you see us kind of being in 2 weeks?
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry if my voice is a little bit cracky. I think I got COVID-19 a few days ago, so if I cough or my voice is cut off in the middle, I want to just say sorry from now. Firstly, thank you guys for having me. I think this is the first time I'm joining your spaces. As for the space and how I feel, definitely it's a good feeling. So it's never bad to have volume and see the excitement of people about the space after like 6-7 months of everyone just chanting ordinals are dead. So it's definitely a positive thing. But to be honest, this is my take on the BRC tuning, like the craze that we had. It's good to have the volume, but in reality, if that's the only thing that we have to offer, it's gonna be the same like pattern all over again and in just short time. So if all we have is animal tokens, BRC animal tokens to just pump and dump, it's gonna end up in the same situation as we were. Fortunately, that's not all the case and not the whole picture, because we have many creators who have been building, and lately I'm seeing a lot of people like being interested and being onboarded to build on ordinals. So yeah, it's a really good timing, I think. Hopefully, I believe we are gonna have that pullback, but hopefully December will be better than November, because we have many good projects coming on December. So yeah, excited for it.
Awesome, man. Thank you for your insights there. One thing that I have seen, like I said, I follow you, so I see some of your tweets and stuff, and it seemed like maybe it was getting a little bit under your skin of seeing some of these projects come back out from like being away for a while, and once the energy was re-injected, it's like started to show their faces again, and I completely can understand that feeling because I feel very similar to that. But wanted you to kind of talk about that and like how to, like, from a community member's perspective, right? Someone that might not run a project, but someone's just in the community. Like, what do you think, like, the perception, I shouldn't say should be, because everybody has their own, but like, I guess what's your perception on it, and how do you feel about that, basically?
Yeah, that's a really good question. To be honest, the reason like it started out with Ordinals Nexus in the first place was one of the reasons was exactly the same thing, because I have been in this space, like especially like NFT side, for a long time, like even before CryptoPunk and Bored Ape Mints. Like I had my friends who were like artists, so I have seen the patterns happening all over, like for years now. So one thing that in my take was missing was this same thing was happening in other chains all over. Like we saw people just joining and being active the moment there is liquidity. And of course, we can use buzzwords, but that's not real building, or that's not people who really care about creation or creating anything. So the reason I, in the first place, created Nexus was to have that platform, to have that influence, to tell people like what is happening. at the end of the day, as you said, like each person has their own different perception, and they will get to their own conclusion. But as someone who has that small platform, it's my job to bring it to light to everyone see like the other side of the story, because you see like people just disappearing for 6 months, and out of nowhere, like a tweet after 6 months saying like we were building in the dark, and there's no single message anywhere about building anything. So yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, I'm with you there 100%. You know, especially whenever you're grinding through the hard times, right? And then you're kind of like, man, like I've been here grinding, and then it seems like the people that might have stepped away because it was slow. You're like, oh well, you're trying to benefit after like everybody else was still here and grinding. But I completely understand that perspective. Tosio, you had your hand up. What's up, brother?
Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to echo with what Nicola said. Like all of those projects who disappeared during the time when when they said that ordinals were dead, basically came back, and it's just quite weird or odd that all of a sudden they're just gonna come back just because of liquidity coming back, whereas the people building during the bear market of ordinals are still here. You know, seeing these familiar faces like Benny here, and I see Eric here. A lot of people actually, especially the Bitmap community, they've been consistently grinding, showing up every day. So, you know, just big shout out to everyone here at the time when nobody was paying attention. We're still here.
100%. And I think many people can attest to the fact that you are one of those builders that grinded through the ups and downs and stuff. So definitely appreciate you what you're doing for the Wells community and the Ordinal community in general. So appreciate that. Nicola, back to you. And so what's next for you? Obviously, Ordinals Nexus is a great kind of tool for people to use to see what's going on, what's recent in the space. But any updates in terms of what you're building on top of that or extending from that?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I actually get excited every time someone asks me, because everything we are doing just comes through my mind. But just again, a flashback to why I started the whole idea. From the first step, my plan was not to just make a newsletter or just a source of information for people. The plan was to become the nexus, the point of connection of every single creator, project, artist, or anyone, flipper, DJ, and anyone who is interested in ordinal space. So the ultimate vision for Nexus is we are not one single project. We are a booster, like for every single project that is building, real building on Ordinal's ecosystem. So like a small fraction of the way we do it is giving the shoutouts in our contents, or talking about or bringing the light on those projects who are doing it. But I'm gonna give the alpha here, but this is not something we have mentioned. But one of the updates I'm gonna say is gonna be rolled out today. We opened our Discord, I think, last week. Like we had our Discord for around 9 months, but we opened it to public around, I think, last week, and we got around 2K members in 1 week. And so far, only from the two freelance projects that we distributed and brought the attention of our community to them, people have made an total of around 300K of USD value in profits out of those two, like Nakamoto Archive and Ordinals just 2 days ago. This is, again, the money is just a small portion of it. One of the other things that we are doing, and everything we have done so far, is free. I'm sure you guys have seen, like for the past 8 months, we could make projects, it could be successful, but the plan is something else for now. So one of the other things that we are doing at the moment is creating tools on the Discord for our community again. And we will roll out the very first bots that we have been working on today. And that's again something that will be updated throughout every week. We will have new bots, new features on the Discord, and we have new artists like onboarded for creation of new artworks and new contents. Not only the visuals we see. I'm thinking to expand it to video contents and make it more enticing for people outside Ordinals to also be attracted, because in reality it's all about how like glorified something is. So if they see a good content, that's the first step of onboarding. And our mission is the same: onboarding, educating, and entertaining, but in a different way. And yeah, the last thing I have been working on, which was really good and successful, was as I mentioned, I have been active for a while. So anyone who has been here since 2021, you have probably been rocked too many times from that bull run. And I'm in many different communities, which even the devs are not there, like they fully left the Discord, but the community is still alive, and we have had that connection. And those people are the real OGs and people who care, because they're not making money, they have been robbed, but they're still there. And those kinds of people are the best ones to be onboarded to Ordinals for a potential benefit for the whole space. And like lately, I have been in talk with one of the like OG projects who have been building like for 2-3 years, which was acquired by a Spanish media company lately. And yeah, I had an AMA for them about Ordinals and everything. So people are getting interested. So we're targeting the right people to be onboarded for the sake of whole community and whole space.
That's awesome, man. I love your point at the end about, the community members that held on even after, they got, let's be real, they got screwed over, right, by those founders and on the EVM side or whatever chain they were on. The ones that are really dedicated to the community. And I really hope that Ordinal stays like I feel like out of every ecosystem I've been a part of, Ordinal's founders are the best. But it could be because we're early and everybody cares about the innovation. And I just really hope we don't lose that, right? Because that's how you want to reward your community. It might not be through monetary value every time, but it could be through events or just the fact that you as a founder is giving all your blood, sweat, and tears to them, and they can see it. That's so important. And I really feel like the builders and founders in the space have majority, like 98% of them have that. And I just really hope that we keep that. But man, I love what you're doing, Nicola. Just keep doing, what you're doing. You're fighting the good fight with, updating the community constantly and calling out things that need to be called out. And we appreciate you, sir. We're going to go to Benny next here because he is on a time crunch. But before I do that, any questions for Nicola? All right, Nicola, we'll definitely keep our eye out on you. We definitely always look at the Ordinal Nexus updates, and we appreciate your update. Kimmy, did you have something? Okay. Benny, my man, what is going on? I know we all know that you're super busy. There's been a lot that has even happened within a week because you were on our spaces last week. So, Ordinal's wallet listed tap protocol tokens. You're also working with the block runner guys, I believe, to help index the DMT, NAT, BMT, TAC, CAV. I'm just kidding, but like all those, those DMT style token protocol tokens. So if you could just kind of just update us on what has been going on and what's your latest updates with the track ecosystem.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for having me. I really love the space, and shout out to Nicola. I can really really like commend to not enough to subscribe to Nicola's Nexus, and it's really has a great format, or they have a great format there to get informed, and it basically sums everything up, and he's all over the place, right? And that's one of the
people that I could consider OGs that are with everybody throughout bear markets and ordinals, that yada yada stuff. So please, yeah, support Nexus. So yeah, lot has been going on. Of course, DMT, but also Bitmap, and of course, TAP protocol itself. And I think it's generally like a sense-making time. I would really like to chime in here and to help also to get a bigger picture here. Um, to understand what's actually going on, you need to understand from what place track, or me personally even coming on there. There was this because it was mentioned that about the toxic EVM spaces, not all of them, of course, but when it comes to collectibles and stuff and all the shenanigans that are obviously going on there, right? They personally drove me right into that ecosystem. Was back then in February, and along the ride, along the journey, I pretty much was aware of where things might gonna headed to. We're not careful. Yeah, we're careful. I not just mean technical decentralization, but also that people that are building now and that built before, appreciate it, what they are building and things like that. And to be honest, this risk is still very, very obvious and very well still possible. Yeah, we shouldn't be delusional about that. Especially when more and more liquidity comes into the space, you will see a lot of people that try to innovate, just not getting hurt anymore, simply because things are getting too streamlined and everybody just runs after liquidity, and pump their backs, right? That's what happened on Ethereum, and really looking forward to that's not happening. So where track adds to many people here might know about what track is doing, many people might not. What track is basically doing to serve the different protocols with an ethos that satisfies my personal requirements, to that. And one of this is also about giving people options and being innovative on that. So, and that being said, um, most recently, and that's flying a little bit under the radar because of DMT, because what the guys recursivers are doing and things like that, is the actual work that the TAP protocol is working out together with Hitoshi Nakamoto. Not to forget, Bitoshi is the man that everybody here should be thankful for what's happening. And probably you're not aware that not everyone is aware that there will be a white paper coming out next week that he was independently working on, and I'm super happy to reflect all these thoughts that went into that white paper that make it in an open protocol, an extendable protocol, which the TAP protocol is. And this is basically, especially the TAP protocol, is something that literally really everybody can hook into, literally hook into, and do their stuff with it, right? So, and that means that there is simply not a single, like place that tries to occupy everything. It's like a protocol that everybody can index. It gives you like a framework, like utility at hand, also to manage bitmap, your bitmaps, right? And things like that. So simply speaking, going beyond the protocol and being uh, enables you to basically to create and build upon it like it's a framework. And there will be additions being made to the TAP protocol very soonish that will showcase what's happening there. And that on top of that, there was this DMT release recently with Blockrunner. It's a similar thing. It's a similar thing there, but track was basically helping out to figure the indexing the indexing requirements for DMT itself, because arbitrary stuff is basically a really complex beast to manage. So there was some consultations involved, but the actual idea and basically anything that flows into it was block runner's work. So, but that being said, and I noticed that it was also a discussion that happened this week when the Nat mint happened was, oh my God, this is I have to enter a block number there, but I own the bitmap from that, so they're stealing my my bitmaps. Totally not the case. These are two different things. I would really like to make that clear. The only reason why you are adding a block number there is that you are minting basically tokens that emerge from the different patterns from digital meta theory, and you need to have some reference, where you mint that from, and that's actually the block. Has nothing to do with bitmaps, has nothing to do with anybody trying to take something away from you. And I would really suggest to open the block runner Discord or ask them in detail on let's say X, right? Whatever source you can get, because things are in flux, to get more informed on that. Yeah, and then the other updates are more or less about the TAP protocol itself. Tokens, you mentioned that earlier. There was Ordinals wallet that suddenly out of nowhere came in and supported and TAP tokens. And this was really fun because Gip was basically then or still the leader of all these tokens. It's really funny. It's a meme token derived from an actual demo for developers to check the token off feature. So and there will be a lot more, especially when it comes to Gip. There will be a new demo for that to stay within this in this realm of where it emerged from. And I promised the track community that there will be a lot of fun and a lot of chaos and a lot of misunderstandings, because that's the place where it derived from, and it would add to the overall confusion. So that's basically the meme. Because it already confused Casey, because he had to add a filter to so that these Gip inscriptions are not showing up right on ordinals.com. Yeah, so there was a lot going on, as you can imagine, and there is something coming soon. But aside from all that fun that's supposed to emerge from that, it's an actually very serious demo if you will look at the details once it's out. That has a lot to do, of course, with with what the TAP protocol will be able to do in the future, especially when it comes to bitmaps. And I believe that's also the way you need to tackle things. I mean, you can't go and say, okay, we're working with this entity, working with that entity, we pump your bags, you bring in liquidity, but except some things I didn't really hear about innovation, but that's actually the kind of innovation that I personally want to see there, and that gives people options at hand. I'm talking about options, not to occupy an entire space, but giving people the option to build on that, and then have better chances to withstand for what's coming. What I believe what's coming. And also. Unfortunately, BSC 420 was front running me personally on that, but doesn't matter. I will basically inform you guys that that we will very soon assemble a development team, quite substantial one in Germany. And one of the first things is, I have to say it's a BSC 420 contender. But this contender will be based on the same principles that I earlier outlined, and will have additional innovation, of course, that also hooks into the TAP protocol, that simply will make it easier to manage your things. So that basically sums it up for what happened this week, and I'm really excited for that. And and hope that everybody else who's developing in that space getting the same feel that we're here at the at yeah at the edge of being like completely recognized. Just as a small addition, I was waking up to some Chinese Binance tweet that totally made me fell off the chair with my coffee, and the recognition is there. I can tell you that. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you for just like Jeff, man. Benny does a great breakdown of the the track ecosystem, and we appreciate all those updates, and kudos to you, congratulations that Binance covered you, and I think people that have been in the space for a while notice have noticed you from the start, and you're just now starting to kind of get these bigger entities to recognize you. So man, appreciate everything that you just broke down. And I'm gonna try to get some questions here for Benny, but Maddie, eventually I want to get to you because obviously you've been studying the whole DMT, NAT situation, so you can kind of maybe clarify a little bit more there. But anybody have any questions for Benny in the track system right now? Go ahead, Shizzy.
Yeah. Hey, Benny. Quick question. You said kind of like you guys are BRC 420s kind of front ran you guys. Could you explain what you mean a little bit there? Like what are you guys building? Like because they're building a lot, and I'm just curious what part
Yeah,
got front run.
yeah. Sorry. So when I did my computer science thesis, it was like a year ago. It was before I entered the Ordinal space. I Part of the result of this thesis was actually what we're headed to, and that is avatars, right? Especially avatars, and the way how to handle them, and the way how to combine them technically with the metaverses that are emerging. This thesis is available in German. I can publish that, right? So if you want to look at that, and was literally my plan to have something like this. Yeah. That's where it emerged from. That's what I meant with front running. I'm not saying like it was like a takeover of my idea or something like that. I think that's just an idea that you get on naturally at some point. It just happens, and I can prove that I had that like a year ago already. But that being said, it was my plan to put that into the TAP protocol itself too at some point, right? And with the development team that I'm now going to assemble, I can make it actually happen. Yeah, it won't work the exact same way as the BRC 420, but it will be obviously a contender. Yeah. Like I mean, it is what it is, right?
Well, I think that's healthy, to have competition, with whether it's a similar protocol or not, just, because at the end of the day, the bitmap ecosystem is still being built out. But Shizzy, did that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. But so like again, I'm sorry. Like what I just want to kind of want to know what the idea is because I definitely want to check out the document itself. But like what are you actually thinking of building? I'm just curious in that aspect. I wasn't saying anything about like you front running them. I'm just want to know what you guys are potentially building. A little bit of alpha maybe.
A little bit of alpha, maybe. It goes far beyond than just having assets, if I may say that, right? It's good that that you are able to tokenize assets, right? But you can tokenize so much more, right? And if you combine that, without spilling the beans too much, uh, it has to do with narratives, yeah, and what the different citizens in that narrative are doing with that. Yeah, so that's what it is about.
I got you. Thank you so much, Benny. Appreciate that. I was just trying to dig a little bit more out of you. Just want a little bit more, but I appreciate you so much, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you too.
Yeah, Shizzy's gonna try to get it out, get the alpha out for the group. But yeah, good question, Shizzy. Um, yeah, so excited for track, excited for tap. Did you have any updates with pipe that you wanted to go over before we move on?
Yeah, pipe. Well, there's a pipe decks coming. That's mostly announced in the track Discord and on Twitter. The guys from Inspip are working hard. They have the marketplace ready soon as well. They have a extremely large update that's coming, and I have the feeling that that the economy there is incredibly growing, and especially the builders, the amount of builders that are building for pipe is growing like I wouldn't say exponentially, but proportional, to the user base, and that's actually a good and healthy thing, right? And yeah, we just are just shy of 20,000 uh, 20,000 transactions that are pipe related that are not transfers. So literally literal deployments of tokens and collectibles. I have no count about the actual transactions, but like transfers and things like that. But I assume this is probably going into the 100K regions already. It's harder to track than, let's say, BRC20, because you don't need to create an inscription, like, like to transfer. So this is basically hidden, but extrapolating that and seeing what's going on, we're rather closer to the 100K transaction mark than we're away from it, right? So
Awesome, man. Awesome. Just building so much stuff with the track systems. So excited to see, this next year is going to be huge, in my opinion, for systems and the ordinal space in general. So excited to see what you're building there. I know Benny, is going to be with family and stuff here shortly. So any questions that you have for him before we let him go?
When snapshot for airdrop set.
I have a question for Benny.
Go ahead.
Um, Benny, I saw that you have a previous project on ETH, the universe meta. Could you explain how it's connected to the track ecosystem now, and what's your plan for the future for this project?
yeah, alpha time. Okay, got it. So that has to do with the thesis that I mentioned earlier, right? So because Ordinals didn't exist at that time, I had already the idea to create a cross-chain metaverse, and that's what it is about. And the primary or let me say the reference implementation for that metaverse will be coming from within Ordinals. In the long run, I'm looking at to buy, I don't know, from the market, for example, some deeds, yeah, because that was the original idea, and burn then these into bitmaps, yeah. So literally combine that and create like an island of metaverses where with island I mean like literally a handful of bitmaps where this cross-chain metaverses then will reside. Yeah. So, and that's what I mean with primary, with the basis to start from. And I read very early on, I already showcased that a little bit, because the very first bridging even was semi-manual actually happened with Universe and Unif on BRC20 like a few months ago, before anybody was thinking about bridging, yeah, to that capacity. And the actual track tag that is being developed, that was always said from the beginning, is going to be utilized for that. Yeah. You can read up the history in the Rarity Garden Discord. It's pretty interesting to see how it developed, but then you can get more information from that. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you.
Great question. And Kimmy, sorry, I completely skipped over that question. But Benny, Kimmy was asking when the snapshot is for the track holders for the tap token.
Snapshot, yeah, when exactly? So there's still a lot of moving parts. I don't believe it will be happening this year. Yeah, we're still trying to figure how we're doing that, for example, with Gate.io, which is technically challenging, and also we have to be a little bit cross protocol here. So most likely won't happen in this year, but early next year. The actual snapshot and airdrop, and there will be also enough time to react. Yeah, and there will be a very detailed announcement. Yeah, just for those interested in that, I would just recommend to turn on the notifications for the tab underscore protocol X account, and also maybe join the track Discord as well, but because especially with the developments in the next 2-3 weeks, would be a great idea to be educated. What's coming alongside it. It's not just about an airdrop. Stale Pro has a question.
Yeah, thanks, Benny. Just a quick question. So first of all, it was nice to see Binance post, and then all the comments being supporters of Track is really really showing the big guys what Track is. So, the only question I had was like, is there any more details on the team that you're building? Is it mostly Solidity devs or Black kind of devs, or it's too early to tell?
Yeah, I can tell you that straight. I'm looking really like for high
Yeah,
performers. Yeah, so with high performers, I mean these are all the first wave of people that will get hired in Germany. I'm looking for seniors, yeah, with 5+ more experience. Some of them will be Node.js developers. Some of them will be Rust developers, right? It's a technology mix, because that's what we're having here. We're having a technology mix, and that's where Rust developers are really hard to get at the moment. But if you are approaching them from this angle where we are coming from, I think it's easier to convince them to work with you, right? So there will be in the next couple of weeks, there will be official, just like a regular normal company, for job offerings being posted. For example, on Stepstone, like these classy places, and then assemble a team for that. What I really for the first wave don't want is to include freelancers from all over the place, or from all over the world, simply because we need to be careful here in terms of laws, right? And everything needs to be safe and sound and secure. And for that, I really want to take my time, yeah, and don't want to rush things too much, right? And rather build things from the ground up. Hope that answers the question.
yeah, it does. I've actually worked with Rust a bit, and it's a difficult language to switch to. So yeah, I definitely understand how hard it is to find them. But there's a
Yeah,
lot in Solana, so
yeah,
maybe you'll get lucky.
yeah. I'm doing Rust also, and was at first also, because I'm not a system. I'm not coming from a system developer angle, right? I'm more like originally more like the C# Java guy, right? Where a lot is being taken off your shoulders, but also the concepts are diametrically different to that of these kind of platforms, right? So, but I got there basically. I wouldn't consider me like a pro like Casey or anything like that in that matter, but I'm good enough to basically extend the old wallet, for example, with the requirements that are needed for indexing and things like that. And I can also give that knowledge to developers, and well, they actually have to, that Track's gonna hire.
Awesome, man. And I really love your approach initially, kind of making sure that your core team is close to you, and that you're kind of getting that foundation built out really strong before you extend the team outside, right? Because you want to know this is your baby, this is your community's baby, right? And you want to make sure that you have eyes on everything initially, right? To make sure you
Yeah,
get the.
right. Yeah, it's not just that it's an own baby thing. It's also about a lot of security and safety, right? I mean, you're indexing things there that people made their decisions on, right? I mean, God beware, but you know how it works. You just need to have one leak, right? And you cannot like legally, legally reach out to that person who caused the damage. You're in trouble. So and everyone is in trouble. So that's why this I take this extremely serious, like extremely. And that's why I'm trying to be fast, but fast enough in a way that things can be done. But I'm not overly bullish yet on, for example, on certain types of L2s. Yeah, simply because I know the odd wallet is not stable yet, right? And everybody knows that. The odd wallet developers know that themselves, right? And to build an L2 where you add an additional layer of complexity on top what's already complex is, in my opinion, but that's just me, right? But from my angle as a developer, kind of irresponsible when you think about it with what we're dealing here, with actual money, right? So that's why I really maneuver really carefully through that space and simply rather maintain things for a while until things are stable, right?
Yeah, and I think once the Ord wallet becomes stable, the Ord team needs to take you out for like dinner and drinks for a whole week, because you're the one that is mostly spotting out all the issues to it. But you know, at the end of the day, we all work together until we get to a stable place, right? So, Nicola, you got your hand up. What's up, brother?
I don't mean to interrupt the conversation, but I have another call that I have to attend now. Just wanted to say thank you for inviting me again, and looking forward to the next episode of your podcast with Jeff. Thank you so much again.
Yeah, thanks for coming up, and we're definitely excited for what you got building in the future. We'll talk to you soon. All right. Before we hand it off, Benny definitely has to go. He's going to be with family, like I said. So, any last questions for him? All right, Benny, we appreciate you, sir. We'll definitely, we always keep up with you, and on our podcast, we're always trying to put the latest news and stuff out there for you.
One second, Jacob. We have someone come on stage right now, really quickly.
Okay, sorry. We got one last question for you, Benny.
He's connecting in. It should be in a second. He was waving down there. I didn't see he requested. That's my fault.
Expect hard question from him.
Yeah, we're still trying to get him connected in, so we'll give it a minute or so.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Do you understand me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, it was not working. It's my first time here. Hello, Benny. I love your work very much. In the context of Bitmap, what is your view on how Blokamoto's view, your view, and the recent block runners' view can be combined?
Yeah, actually, that's super simple. I think we all three share the same vision in terms of decentralization of power. Yeah, that's coming from the same place. What you cannot control, of course, is what people are making out of it, right? So we definitely had some this week. We definitely had some sense making, yeah, of people. For example, these net maps, right? Because the first natural reflex has been, okay, we create a map, yeah, where these blocks that people minted tokens from, yeah, occupied and which are not occupied. And that, of course, if you look at these blocks, looks then right like it's a bitmap thing, which it isn't. So, and I think what needs to be done right now is that we three basically sit together and discuss how to educate people on that, right? Because again, DMT is literally not about deploying and minting non-arbitrary tokens, right? Where Bitmap is clearly non-arbitrary, but it's clearly focused on metaverse, right? On top of that, and it's pretty clear that we all know is that you cannot enforce a single token onto Bitmap. Yeah, you simply cannot do that because it's an open system. So, and everybody is on the same page with that. That the owners of Bitmap, they decide themselves what they are doing with it. And in that sense, we are all participants of the same ecosystem, like anybody else. We can only support um, builders and owners with tools and concepts that help them, but we cannot control that. I hope
So
that answers the question.
Yeah,
yeah,
Rude, I
yeah, yeah. So it's very important that the community forms a good view on what they want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So the view is definitely there. It's just a ton about education, right? And you need to educate people what you can do with it, what is this for, right? And many things are discovered that you even didn't think about, when you came up with frameworks and protocols and white papers, right? So it really depends on people what they're making out of it, if they see a fit for their needs, right? So it's basically like an open market thing. But uh, the point is that everybody understands that even Bitoshi is basically an ecosystem participant. That Block Runner is an ecosystem participant, and even the TAP protocol is a participant, like anybody else with Bitmap. And it's in the end the people that have to say here, and that's the full awareness that we have.
Yeah, that's great. I think the more openness there can be, the more doubts there will disappear. And the
Yeah,
more
exactly.
the big
Yeah.
picture will be clear for everyone to think on what they want and how they can see together.
Yeah, exactly. That's totally fits in also with my personal philosophy, right?
And
So
how should
yeah.
would you do that? Is that via Twitter? Is that how can we speak together?
Well, that's a discussion that they're gonna want to kick off actually with Bitoshi himself. He's like heads down with his white paper. Block Runner is, I think, right now heads down with support. I don't know, but there should be some more education on that because it basically comes together in one protocol, right? And there needs to be some sort of documentation that's easy to understand to what you can actually build with it.
Yeah, the Git the white paper, that seems a good starting point then.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good sign, but it's independent from DMT. It's literally the bitmap. It's literally bitmap related. Block Runner did a framework description. Then that's also very important to notice that this is a framework, yeah, for DMT tokens. It's not the same thing like exactly the same thing like a protocol. It's similar, but it's not exactly the same thing. Will take some time to digest that, and I think some high level documentation should be fleshed out to explain that better. Definitely.
Yeah, that's very good. The more information, the better. Thank you, Benny. Have a nice day and keep it on.
Thank you.
That was a great question, NR. And I think the beautiful thing about bitmap theory is that it's open source, right? And so even if there's an entity that is trying to even if there's an entity that's trying to implement like a system or something, you don't have to follow that, right? Like there's multiple builders in the space that are trying to build a good environment. But we're going to get into more of that. That's one of the main reasons why we made this focused around bitmaps. But I just want to say thank you to Benny for jumping up. He's pretty much here every week, spending time to just give the rundown to the whole community. So we appreciate you, Benny. Um, and then Maddie, we're going to get to you in a second, I promise, because we know that like you are the subject expert on most things. But I want to hit on Foxy real quick because Foxy's also tied into Tap and Bitmap and stuff. Unless are you on a time crunch,
I,
Maddie?
no, no, I just wanted to say I'm just in the drive-through and I gotta grab gas, so I need like 10 minutes.
Okay, that's perfect
Okay.
then. So,
Okay.
so Foxy, what has been going on? I know that I've seen on some of your posts that you've been spreading the word about ordinals and bitmap theory at different conventions and stuff like that. Could you kind of explain what has been happening in the Foxy world of bitmap with the Bitverse and everything that you got going on? Also, it seems like you might be kind of teaming up with Tap. I don't know, maybe I didn't say that correctly, but if you could give the community a rundown.
Hey guys, yeah. I just want to wish everyone happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully everyone had a great time with their families. And yeah, so everything's been really amazing. My partner is in Dubai participating in many events, and he's just everyone he's been talking with, some VCs, well, many VCs, um, a lot of exchanges as well, and we've just been presenting the ordinals and bitmap and everything, and what Foxy has to offer. So I just want to break down really quick for the people that don't know what Foxy is. So we're a social media app, and we have a Bitverse, which is our metaverse for Bitcoin. We're having an update right now on our social, on our dot social, where the update's going to be, we're going to have where you can create a channel, and you can do voice chats on there as well. So please check us out on the dot social, and the Bitverse is up and running smoothly, guys. So with our Bitverse, we've had some updates to it. You're actually able to customize your own map as well now. You're able to add buildings. You're able to customize the buildings as well. On our art gallery, so when you go into our Bitverse, you're going to see a bit miner, which is going to be basically collecting bits, and you're going to be able to trade that for some artwork or for some Foxy tokens when we launch that. In our art gallery, you're going to be able to set up your artwork. For example, if you're a developer, you want to show off some of your art, you can. You just contact our team, and we'll put up your art, and you can actually sell it through your own bitmap in our Bitverse. So on our social side, if you guys go on and log into our social side, we have a Foxy AI. It's up and running, and you can ask it anything, and it'll basically give you an answer. So that's pretty cool. It's a nice feature that we have here. So yeah, so the updates that are coming, that should be updated here today. We're just waiting for this to finalize on the server. We're gonna have the chat version. You create channel, and you can do the voice chat. So that's gonna be pretty cool. What was the other questions?
No, that's a really good breakdown of your updates. Yeah, so I don't know if I missaw a post, but it seemed like you guys are going to be working with Tap is the protocol. Is that true?
Yeah, so we're super excited. We're extremely bullish on everything track. Tap protocol is going to be amazing for for all ordinals. So yeah, so what we're going to be doing, we're going to be launching our token with through them. Hopefully we're going to be developing some nice things as well. We spoke with some of the team members, and we're going to be adding hopefully a launch pad for Tap too. So that's going to be pretty awesome. We actually I didn't want to say anything yet. I didn't even mention it to them yet, but we actually already have a launch pad completely developed. But we'll show you guys a picture of hopefully maybe today or tomorrow. But we already have it fully developed. Now we just have to talk with Benny and his team to integrate it and make it all work and everything.
Nice. Okay, so do you guys already have the details of your token that your Tap token that you're gonna launch, or is that something that's still being kind of hashed out in terms of distribution?
Not yet. We'll share that here hopefully in the near future, guys.
Gotcha. Yeah. So Foxy's just another example of how this bitmap builder ecosystem is just really strong, and the foundation's really strong. They're definitely one of the builders to keep your eye out on. They have the social application, the Bitverse that he just went over, and they're continually developing, right? And then whenever you have builders from one protocol partnering up with another protocol, that's just making and solidifying the Bitcoin ecosystem and making it that much stronger. So awesome, man. Love what you guys are doing. I have a question. So, is there a way to customize your avatar in your Bitverse?
Okay, we're gonna be adding some more avatars. As of right now, you're not able to customize the avatar, but we're gonna be adding a whole bunch more avatars as well.
Gotcha, gotcha.
But that's a great idea. I like that idea actually. That's really cool.
Yeah, everybody has different like their different versions of their Bitverse or recursive verse or Bitmap Valley, right? And so I think they're all cool, but having an avatar that you can create and use is also something that you can connect with as a user, and I think that that's important. So that's really cool that you guys are doing that. Any questions from the audience? And if you haven't been here on stage, just request to be on stage. I know that some people are requesting right now, so we're adding you. But yeah, any questions for Foxy?
A question really quick. Hey, Foxy. Last time we talked to you, you guys were looking for funding from VCs and stuff like that. Are you guys still on that quest? And have you guys been involved in any talks?
Yeah, actually, when we last spoke, we were doing the evaluation with Gate.io, and we've been approached by three other VCs since then. So we're in talks. We think we have a proposal for next week. So let's see how everything goes in the negotiation and all that stuff. But yeah, everything is going really smoothly. We're gonna let everyone know we want everyone to participate. We're not gonna only let for example, only VCs be able to buy early. We're gonna try to make it so everyone can participate as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think that's one thing that's huge for, things like what you're building is funding, because the more funding you got, the cooler stuff you guys can get. So I'm definitely looking forward to you guys getting some funding and seeing what you guys can really build. So
Yeah. No, we're super excited as well because we know we want to. Our next stage is going to be really great. Everything we've done so far, we've been self-funded. So our next stage, we know we're gonna launch for the iOS and Android apps. That'll be really something great for us for the community.
That's so awesome. And Shizzy, to your point, yeah, institutional money, VC money can definitely help with development. But even more important to what kind of Foxy said was, they want to make sure that, these launches after getting VC money isn't just geared towards the VCs, because a lot of times that's what happens, right? So I really appreciate Foxy kind of taking their time here and selecting the right partner, because, just from experience of, talking to so many different founders like Shizzy and I do on our show, that's a hard thing, is negotiating that part. So appreciate you taking your time and finding the right partner for that. Real quick, so Danny had his hand up first, and then we'll go to Maggie afterwards. Danny, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I've been quietly listening, and thank you for bringing me up. Just a quick question for Foxy. Apparently, I've been doing a lot of things that are connected to a lot of things. And you do avatars, and I've been doing an avatar, let's say avatar business for the past 15 years. Maybe we can work together.
Oh, that'll be amazing, Danny. If you're willing to help us out, we can definitely partner up. That'll be amazing.
We made so far like 8,000 avatar dress up, facial makeover, all that stuff. 8,000 games, and I think we had 3 billion users so far on the games that we made. I'll just hit you up on Telegram, and we have some cool stuff. I have no idea if it works, but if it does, I'll gladly figure something out.
That sounds great. Let's make a mod, and let's make it maybe the Ordinal Revolution mod or something. We gotta name it after Yogi Bear, and then Cheesy, because these guys they gave it that idea. So it would be cool to have like a tool option where people just customize their own stuff, like hair or color or know,
We have
I
it
don't know.
already.
Yeah, that's amazing. That would be great. I will definitely hit you up.
We
Uh,
love the collaborations. Love it.
yes. It's awesome, man. We love when this kind of stuff happens. And a lot of people that don't know Danny from Vampires, man, like his experience in gaming and his team's experience is really extensive. So, you guys hit each other up in the DMs, and really hope something comes from that. Maggie, you had your hand up next. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello, Maggie.
Hello.
Go ahead, Maggie. We can hear you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. Can you list the key events related to Bitcoin development in chronological order?
Uh, Say that one more time.
Okay. Can you list the key events related to Bitcoin development in chronological order?
This really isn't the podcast for that. You have any
Hello?
questions for Foxy?
Yeah. Sorry, I think you're asking if we can list the key events for Bitcoin in chronological order. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay. So yeah, we're that's a question for, I believe, another spaces. If you have a question for Foxy right now, which is on stage, you're more than welcome to ask them. But we can definitely, have that question posed in another environment. Do you have any questions for Foxy?
Hello?
Yeah, we'll have to jump to her another day. I just want to do a quick shout out to my boy Nakeev. He's up here speaking. Nakeev, what's up, buddy? Just want to say hello to you, sir. You're one of my favorites in this entire space. How you doing, bud?
Hey man. Just been listening and dude, a lot of cool things happening with tracks and man, I'm pretty cool. Had a good weekend. I mean, it's Saturday today for my time. Spent time with family. I did went into an online conference. I was invited by by I think Indonesian Jakarta online conference, which is pretty cool. Um, spoke about ordinals and stuff like that, which is really nice. But then just pretty cool, just hanging out, chilling, watching football while listening to you guys. Yeah.
We appreciate your support, Nakeev. Love you, buddy.
Yeah, man, Nakeeb is definitely one of the OGs in the space, and him and his platform Ordzar, which is a platform exchange launchpad, really supports a lot of the underdog builders, I would say, and just it's open to anybody. But really appreciate the work that he's done. So if you don't know Nakeeb, get to know Nakeeb. Great guy, great platform, and yeah, we're just happy that you're in the space, brother.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. I mean, this space is so much growth in the past few months, right? People making impact in their own jurisdiction and stuff like that. You know, to be honest, I wouldn't have been in this position without the help of the early guys like base community like Bean, like it's been Mr. J here. Shout out to Mr. J as well. He has been very supportive and teaching a lot of stuff. You guys, as well. We met Kimmy Boy. What's up, Kimmy Boy? All of us met way back in the early days, and grew together, and then met Shitcoin Shaman, and then we met Toshio after that. There's so much things going on, right? Shout out to Toshio as well. Shout out to Shitcoin Shaman. Everyone here is just amazing, amazing people. Yeah.
Yeah, man, definitely, and appreciate the shout outs to everybody, including us. We appreciate that. Um, we're gonna jump over to Matty verse. Hopefully he's gotten his vehicle gassed up and ready. Um, we have Block Runner on stage. Want to welcome them, but first I want to get Matty kind of on the mic to, I guess, explain explain the whole NAT, well, DMT in relation to NAT, the protocol, in relation to NAT, the token, in relation to BMT, the token, in the most simplest way.
Okay, yep, I'm all good. So the way I understand it, and I've been in Blockrunner's DMs all week. Um, the DMT thing is it's just data that's encoded in each block on the blockchain that you can reference. I found a website that I can reference a lot of the data on, blockchain.com. The Blockrunner has dropped a NAT token based on their NAT protocol, which is a non-arbitrary token, which means the data is there for you to use. It's not just something that you've made up. And they've dropped a token that you can claim. Basically, you inscribe a mint inscription. You point to a block that's valid, that hasn't been used yet, so you get a valid mint inscription. And the amount of bits that are encoded in that block is the amount of NAT token you get. It doesn't have anything to do with Bitmap, but you can go to blockchain.com, you can put in the block number, you can see how many bits you're going to get, or how many bits are in that block. You can mint that and point to that block, and you'll get that many NAT tokens in your wallet. That's it.
Okay. So I feel like my brain is starting to, slowly get it. But like, I think the biggest thing that confused a lot of people was the NAT protocol versus the NAT token, right? And so that was one of the things they weren't really comprehending, including myself in the beginning. But you mentioned basically the NAT token supply was based on the number of bits, the data of number of bits from the specific bitmap that you pointed to. Is that like, so did Blockrunner have to literally choose bits as the data points and then relate that to NATs? And can you do that with other data points on that block for a new token?
So it's not, you're not pointing to a bitmap. I'm going to correct you. Sorry. You're pointing to a block. Okay, bitmap's different. They could have chosen any of the non-arbitrary data that's part of a block. Like they could have chose the hex data and a pattern that occurred in the hex data, and then however many times that pattern of numbers exists in the hex data, that's how many tokens they have. And as for calling it like the confusion between a NAT token and a NAT protocol, Tap did it with their Tap protocol. Tap token is just the first token, right? You kind of want to use that namesake. But yeah, you can use any data, inscribe an element, and then point to the element. The elements are only inscribable one time, so you get to name them. That's their thing about, it's like naming a star, but anybody can point to that element. So anybody can use the element that the Blockrunner used and use the same system for their token. And they've also said that there's data in the blocks that you can literally discover. You could just sit there, discover data patterns, and inscribe them, and you get to name them. So they could have chosen any type of data in there. They chose to go with bits, and they chose to base it off of the bits in a block. People got that misconstrued with bitmap because people think that if they own the bitmap, they own the entire block. And they were mad that I had a conversation with somebody. They were mad that the NAT token was stealing value from the bitmap, because they thought that pointing to their bitmap and using the bits was taking value. I don't know. I've had a lot of conversations over the last few days.
Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of those posts the last few days too. I think obviously the problem is that Blockrunner is very much associated with being an advocate for bitmaps, right? So that's like, and then so this bitmap community automatically like associated this theory with bitmaps instead of the blocks themselves, right? But there's a big distinction that, well, there needs to be in terms of clarity that, hey, okay, these are all just pointing to blocks. Just take bitmap out of your mind, right? And then so let me know if I'm explaining this correctly. So I want to create my own DMT token using NAT protocol. What I would do is I would go find a block, find the data listed for that block. Then I want to choose a data set within that block that I want to create the NAT protocol token. And then that's where I would create the token supply from, and I would name it whatever. Let's say I named it trees, right? And then at that point, I inscribe it, and I just deployed the trees token based on that block and the data set I decided to choose from. Does that sound right?
That sounds right to me. The only thing I'm going to point out that I think people are going to get kind of caught up on, it doesn't matter what you name the element. You can name the token that points to the element whatever you want when you deploy it. But yes, I mean, unless I'm missing something, that sounds right.
Okay. So, I feel like if I could wrap my head around it like I just did, then I'm not. I would say I'm probably not that much smarter than the average person. So I think everybody else should be able to take the time to, understand that and learn it, right? So I think Benny, you got your hand up. What input you got here?
Yeah, just real quick because the inflationary aspect of DMT tokens got mentioned. But first, thank you, Maddie, for digging all through this stuff and what's happening and always trying to explain. Same with Nexus. Nicola, just make sure to follow this guy. He has the hands on just not on audience, but basically everything that's happening on Bitcoin, tries to understand that, creates videos, explainers, all stuff that we are failing at as developers. He adds really value to the space and is pretty much also like a lot off the radar in certain in certain communities, right? So the inflationary thing within DMT is very important to address, and it's not obvious. But I was talking to Blockrunner how they want to tackle that, and it's actually by default capped at, it's a soft cap at block out. So that means the moment or that the block, the last of the block that you can pick from has been minted. That's basically it. Only, and that's what I think is not yet included in the framework. Only if you want it to be inflationary, so it goes on, then you signal that with an attribute block out. I think it was block out false, yeah. And if it's not defined, then it's block out true, which means then there is a soft cap. Just wanted to make that note here.
Thank you for that clarification, Benny. Maddie, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Benny, and I appreciate what you said. I really do. That's awesome. But that I didn't know that. I didn't know about the soft cap. Block Runner. I'm just curious. I don't know if it's Will or Iman that actually are controlling the Block Runner podcast.
Hey, Maddie, it's Will.
Twitter right now. Hey. I just are you gonna add something in the sorry, I'm blanking out. Are you gonna add something where you can choose a block that you can hard cap your pattern on? Like, say I want anything below 800K to be where you can get my token from, and then after that it doesn't give you any tokens.
Sure.
Yeah, the point is this, that's rather really a block runner question, but my feeling tells me that would make it arbitrary. We have already that people can choose a name for a token, which you can, and that's where I had a discussion with them. Okay, this is an arbitrary kind of thing, but to be honest, if you look at how archaeologists actually do that when they find patterns, namely specimen, right? they're building catalogs there, right? And these catalogs are usually named. Yeah. So that's basically the idea. It also makes it easier for cataloging purposes. And to answer your question more detailed, I think that you can do the following. You find a pattern within these different options of pattern categories, right? And there are patterns that might only occur in 1,000 blocks, right? So my job personally is also to provide the information for if somebody finds a pattern, to check in which blocks do they actually, these patterns actually occur, and how often, and in which blocks. Once you have that information, you basically already have that limitation without the need to utilize some arbitrary, boundaries. So the boundaries is basically the patterns with you can basically get closer to these boundaries by finding the right patterns. That's what I'm saying. For example, if you find let's say the string babe, yeah, in transaction hashes, right? That's a that's a name you could give for a token, for example, right? And I'm pretty sure babe doesn't occur in every block, yeah. And that more or less enables you to limit that to not a rigid amount of blocks, but to an amount of blocks that's not, like going the full range of blocks. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Thank you for the breakdown, Benny and Maddie. For block runner, I think it's Will. I'm not sure.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Hey, Will. Welcome to the stage. And question for you. Okay, so if I select a data set, right, and I decide to name that NAT protocol token trees, um, and it's that specific data set, then no one can use that data set and name that token trees again, right?
That's correct.
Okay, perfect. So I got that. So what's the best way do you guys have like a website for people to find these data sets per block, or is it bitfeed.live the best resource for that?
Yeah, so so you guys will have to excuse me. I've had probably about 3 hours of sleep with a little baby I just had last month. So I'm just trying to, keep up with everybody. So, but first, I appreciate everybody for coming on board. Yagobi, Shizzy, obviously Maddie's killing it out there explaining stuff. And Benny, obviously we call him our Lord just because how quick he is to building stuff in the Ordinal space. So appreciate everybody. There's a lot to say about digital matter theory. We've been talking about it for months. I remember when we first released our video talking about it specifically. We had a podcast about digital matter theory where we only spoke about it for like 5 minutes, maybe at the very end. And then we finally released a video kind of explaining the whole concept, and that was maybe 3 or 4 months ago. And it was digital matter theory is just a name that we gave our ability to do pattern recognition, and it's a big one. It's this ability is sort of unique. I mean, robots still struggle with it, right? The CAPTCHA, that's a recognition of our ability to do pattern recognition, and anyone else, anything else, cannot do that. At least for now, right? Robots and AI is getting better, and so when Bitmap happened, we spent a lot of time trying to figure out like what was the source of its value, like why was Bitmap so instantaneously so valuable to us when we first heard about it. And if you guys know the history of Bitmap, Bitoshi hit us up. He was hitting up everybody back in the day, way before there was like maybe 100 inscriptions. And as soon as he hit us up, we looked into it. We were like, dude, this is amazing. And we did a video when there was 300 inscriptions, and then it just kind of went crazy after that. But for weeks after that, we were just instantly we saw it, we were trying to figure out, I was like, why does bitmap matter? And it was because it was non-arbitrary, right? No one decided to have X number of districts, right? They didn't decide to have 100,000 districts, right? None of the stuff about bitmap was arbitrary. So it was like, okay, so it's non-arbitrary. So like, what other things have been non-arbitrary? Casey Rottenberg deciding, her figuring out the pattern of Satoshis entering into the ecosystem. That's a pattern recognition, right? That's what ordinals is. And then we have rare sats recognizing the position of each Satoshi. That's also pattern recognition. And then, of course, Satoshi recognizing that each district and the transactions within a block are parcels, right? Another form of pattern recognition. And so we're like, okay, so the innate value that we see in these things is because they're non-arbitrary. So now when you look at everything that's transpired before, like this whole idea of non-arbitrariness, it's like everything has been arbitrary. So DMT is just a way to allow creators and developers, everybody like on this call, to figure out like maybe there's a different way to do tokenization, right? Using non-arbitrary data. So and the most hardest of all data, the hardest that you can find digitally is Bitcoin. So obviously we're all here because ordinals and Bitcoin and all that. And so and leveraging the data layer is something that we can systematize, right? And and that's what digital matter theory is. It's just a way for anyone to use block data to create a token, whether it's a non-fungible token, right? You can do that. We started with a fungible one, right? And we gave it an arbitrary name called NAT. And we pointed to the first element that we arbitrarily chose was bits, right? So we chose bits because it was fairly evenly distributed from block one all the way to block 800,000. So whether you get block one or 800,000, the fungible token that we call NATs or NAT is about the same, right? You really don't get roughly a huge disparaging difference between block one and 800,000. That's why we chose bits. And we could have chose nonce, which is a purely a random number, right? It's literally from 0 to infinity, right? That's how random that is. And so the whole point is anyone can just point to these elements. Really, is just block data, and elements is just a way to formalize the recognition of this block data. And then once you point to it, you can generate a deploy inscription, call it that token, whatever you want to call it, and then you can have people mint it, right? And so right now, I guess the challenge and understand is like the difference between bitmap and like NETs is, well, it's easy to confuse the fact that you're owning blocks as if you're trying to compete with bitmap. It's bitmap innovated on the ability to point to a block data and own that block data, right? That's and the whole concept of the metaverse and bitmaps, like that was bitmap's thing. But now when owning an NET, you're not really owning the block. You're owning the count of non-arbitrary tokens, the NATs, that are associated with that particular element from that deploy inscription. So it's just a mechanism to formalize ways for people to come up with non-arbitrary tokens. And the whole blockout thing is interesting because if you discover an element, let's say like Benny was saying, if you do BABE, BABE in the block hash, for example, that pattern BABE in the block hash doesn't occur 800,000 times. It occurs less than that. Let's say 50,000. So in Benny's case, his blockout has a soft cap of 50,000 because that pattern only occurs 50,000 times. And the most valuable thing about non-arbitrary tokens is that they have this expansionary attribute to them, right? Every new block has a chance for this pattern to exist again. And there isn't a single fungible token standard out there, other than Benny's now, that accounts for expansionary tokens. Not one, right? So we couldn't use any fungible token standard. And then when we spoke to Benny, he was like, dude, this is a cool idea. We'll update tap, and then you can deploy the first token on tap. So I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So and that's how everything kind of transpired, and that's how we look at like this whole thing. But in no way does this compete with Bitmap. It's just a way to formally recognize patterns, a way to point to patterns, and a way to create tokens off of those patterns. And that's pretty much it. So hopefully that gives everybody sort of like a rough understanding as to like how all this works. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot more to it. That you could create a lot more stuff as far as like non-arbitrary tokens, but yeah, this is roughly the whole encompassing idea.
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved the idea of DMT. I love intelligent design, intricate design, stuff like that. Especially using non-centralized ways of doing it, right? And this is a way of doing that. Is the supply set not by you, but by the data set? Um, what about resources, right? Like, so if someone wants to pick a data set, where would they go?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So going to your question, so the way that this is going to look, it's no different than looking at like CoinGecko and looking at a list of market caps. So imagine this, right? Imagine CoinGecko, but instead of Bitcoin and Ethereum and so forth, you're going to see just a list of elements, like formally recognized elements. And each element is going to have, you know, a number of deployments, right? How many projects are pointing to the element, right? Is it 0? Is it 100? You know, there's going to be a column for that. There's going to be like a total market cap for that element, and total holders, you know, all these like metrics. So once you click on the element, then it'll give you a list of all the deployments, all the people, all the projects that have pointed to that specific element. And each project has holder count, market cap, you know, all these like metrics, right? And so once you click on the project that you like, let's say for example NAT, you can actually mint the tokens from this interface, right? In the same way that that Ordinals wallet did it, right? That's just you know, if you think about BRC20s and that little bar, mint bar, progress bar. So that bar is, think of it's like a linear sort of progress, right? It's 0 to, you know, 21,000, for example. But when it comes to non-arbitrary tokens, you can't go from 0 to the end, right, in linear like fashion, because each block has different data. So you have to be able to own the block individually in order to own the data within that block from the project that you're minting from, right? And so now that bar turns into this 2D like map, and then you can just go in and choose which blocks that you want. And so that's why, you know, it's very similar to Bitmap, is because the interface is the same, right? It's literally the same. It's you pick a block and you own it. Um, so so there's going to be this tool that allows people to, you know, see which projects exist. There's going to be links to like their website or whatever it is. Like it's all going to be kind of like easier to understand. And from that site, you can mint the tokens. And so that's currently in development. We're waiting for Benny to, you know, complete this whole indexing thing, which is non-trivial, right? We're asking Benny to do a very difficult thing. Like for example, with the transactions, there's about 850 million of them, and we're asking Benny, say, hey, I found this pattern called BABE, B-A-B-E. It's like, Benny, tell me how many times does this occur in the transaction hash off of 850 million transaction hashes, right? This is not a easy thing to do, right? So Benny has a lot of work to do, and then once the indexing is done, then we can provide this interface, and then anybody can obviously use these API calls and create their own interface, as Ordinals Wallet did.
Gotcha. Yeah, and Maddie, I'm gonna get to you in 1 second. I want to pull it back a little bit because I'm trying to get to a point to where I can use a resource to figure out, like, when you guys deployed the NAT token, you used the bit data, right? What if I don't want to use the bit data? Where can I find all those data points, like another data set other than bits?
Yeah. So in our documentation, it's on page .element registry. there's the all-encompassing list of data that Bitcoin has. So there's 37 pieces of data fields that you can point to, and 37 doesn't sound like a lot, but when you dig deep, there's a lot of patterns that can be discovered in these 37 fields. And so you got fields anywhere from like the first one, which is the block hash, and there's everything within the block header, right, which includes something called size, stripped size, weight, height, things like that. And then you have all the data that's associated with the transaction hashes or the transactions, right? You have the nonce, you have difficulty, chain work, number of transactions, things like that. So they're all there in the dot elements like registry on the digital matter theory Gitbook.
Perfect. That was exactly the answer I was looking for. Appreciate it, Will. Maddie, go ahead.
Yeah, so one of the things that was bothering me this week, when people were saying that, this is trying to replace bitmaps, I actually have a couple of things to say. But these are people that haven't been here since June when we did blockout, right? Like, and they don't realize that Blockamoto went to the block runner, and these guys, they're very open about it. They say it all the time. Blockamoto told us about this before anybody knew about it. They could have minted thousands of these things and then let everybody know about it. But what they did was just throw up a video and let everybody know about it, right? So the people that are saying that this is to replace bitmaps, blah blah blah, it just really bothered me, because I was like, if they wanted to capitalize on bitmaps like that, they could have just minted out a shit ton before they dropped the video. So anyway, I just wanted to get that out there. That was one of my main frustrations. But I'm curious if you guys are going to be able to tie like art as a non-arbitrary token, because I kind of want a Nat punk.
Yes, so true, Benny. Yeah, when we first heard of Bitmap, um, we knew it was extremely valuable, and I don't know, we wanted to talk about it first publicly before we like started minting our own blocks. I don't know, it was a natural thing for us. Like you're right, we could have just minted all the first 10,000 blocks, but we didn't. And the same thing with like DMT. We could have minted all the blocks ourselves. I mean, obviously we don't have, whatever it was, $8 million to mint all the blocks, right? We don't have that.
Yeah, but I mean, back during blockout, it would have only cost like $10,000
That's right.
to get 10K, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and so that, and we were debating on like, should we release it now? The fees are too high and all that stuff. But it was like, let the market decide. What people want to do. If they deem owning a non-arbitrary token valuable for $7 per inscription, then they'll do it. If they don't, they won't. I mean, it's up to just like the current market appreciation for it. And so yeah, and then when we released DMT, we inscribed the first block just to make sure everything had worked. We inscribed it on a block 9 Satoshi, just for the culture. But we used the wrong deploy inscription. We used token mint, right, which comes from tap token protocol, and that was wrong, right? So our first block is useless, right? And that's okay. I mean, when you do this stuff and you're early, you're gonna make some mistakes, right? And so we don't even have the first block. First block went to some random Bitcoin address. We don't know.
I
Yeah,
tried.
yeah, and tap and that ecosystem, there's so many people that are engaged in tap that as soon as they saw this, they just like blindly started minting, right? They didn't even know what it was. They obviously they didn't read the git book by the time they started minting, right? They just saw JSON. They're like, cool, I'm gonna put it on the blockchain, and that's it. Like that's as much research that they did. And so yeah, so it was one of the things we're trying to be as fair as possible. And really, if you think about it, what we deploy was a fungible token. So whether you own block 1 or block 800,000, the tokens are treated the same. But like going back to what Maddie's saying, it's like you can treat these as non-fungible tokens, right? Block one actually does matter, right? And you can create art based off of this standard as well. It's just you have to be a little bit more creative on like how you do it, and it's not explicitly outlined in the document, but yeah, you could do pictures based on non-arbitrary data, right? PFP project that has an expansionary supply. Remember what happened to Azuki when they decided to expand their supply? Everybody got pissed, right? Because these arbitrary 10K settings have no basis for existence. There are this whole point of calling it arbitrary. And so you could do a PFP project that is based on non-arbitrary like data sets, and that community can expand based on that pattern existing again in a new block, right? And people would join that PFP because they know that there's a rate of inflation, right? That they know that the community is going to continuously expand. That's what you want. You want your community to get bigger. You don't want to have a business where you can only sell to 3,000 people and that's it. Like that's it. You're done. Like that doesn't make any sense. So through this like expansionary supply, we have the ability to grow community. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Maddie.
Yeah, totally did. And I know at when Tap first dropped back in August, it was tokens, and then it was like 2 or 3 days or something like that, and then somebody started going like, okay, well, I want art, and then it expanded to art. So I know that building on Tap is a good option for this. And I
For
really
sure,
hope a
for
lot of
sure.
people. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and this sort of framework can exist on any fungible token standard like BRC20. Domo can make an update to recognize expansionary tokens. He won't do that, right? Because he's working with Alex Labs and they're doing something crazy over there. But atomicals, they can expand. Any fungible token can make an update to formally recognize these expansionary tokens, or just like the expansionary supply, just in general. And then you can apply this framework to any fungible token standard out there. So I think this is going to expand to other fungible token standards. I think it's going to expand to other chains, but the burden is not on us. It's the same thing that happened with DogeMap, right? Toshi didn't do anything with DogeMap, did he? Right? It's like the community members over there just decided to do it, and it's working out pretty well, it seems. So yeah, I think that's how things are going to expand.
Yeah, and I don't doubt that. Like, ETH came out June 17th, and now we got Polyscriptions and Soulscriptions
That's
and
right.
AVAX scriptions, and it's all happening. So I'm sure it's gonna expand to other chains as well. I hope that a lot of people listen to this spaces here, or you guys, Shizzy and Yogi Bear, um, chop this up and get some of this information out there, because even I like listening to a lot of the things that the block runner is saying is making me more excited for the protocol, right? Like, one more thing, and then I'm gonna stop because I could talk forever. But could you imagine this existed on Ethereum in 2021, and the Bored Ape Yacht Club was based on a non-arbitrary token, and they're selling for $300,000, you know, um, consistently on the floor, and then all of a sudden a block comes out and one more Bored Ape pops up and somebody gets that. Could you imagine the excitement
Exactly.
if that happened to you?
Yeah, and you can do so many things with like this concept too. Like right now, like if you think about NAT, like the actual token, when there's a new block, you can basically own that block. So it's up for grabs for anybody. In the same way that Bitmap is up for grabs for every new block. But you can also use tools that exist in the community, such as like token authorization, right? That's from Benny. That's like a tap thing where you can generate this token authorization, which is a child inscription of a parent, send that to a platform, and then like if you're this bored apes. You're generating bored apes. You could say, hey, if you're like an active community member, you get to own that bored ape. Or if you achieve some sort of achievement in some game, you get access to that board ape, right? So what I'm trying to say is like you can build logic into these tokens where you have to meet some sort of achievement in order to get that token, or you can have it free reign where it's up for grabs for anybody, like in the same way that Bitmaps is. So it's really hard to kind of conceptualize like all the use cases here, but I have a feeling the community's gonna like pick up like all this stuff and just kind of do their own thing, right? And we're gonna see a lot of these different use cases.
Yeah, I feel like that was very well broken down. I kind of feel like imagine in the beginning when Casey was working on ordinal theory, I believe, for like a year and a half to 2 years, right? And so let's say he released it to just this group of people, and their heads would be spinning, right? Because they'd be like, "What? We're tracking Sats, what?" And then this and that and all that stuff. So, for me, what I see is this is definitely it did confuse people, but I think it confused people more than that. It freaked them out, right? Because people don't like to be overwhelmed with information, right? But I think once there's products or protocols or fund projects that end up launching out of this new protocol, I think things will change because then there'll be easier ways to understand it.
Yeah, for sure. And anytime anything is like new to everybody, I mean, I'm gonna speak for everybody here, and I'm gonna say that when we all heard about Bitcoin for the very first time, we all faded it, right? It's a natural thing to just kind of disregard new things because it requires work to learn about Bitcoin, right? Because had we all put the work when we first heard about it, we'd have a lot of Bitcoin, right? But all of us didn't, right? We didn't do that. And there's this saying that I keep saying is luck is the intersection of preparation and opportunity. The people that got into Bitcoin really early, that's because they were prepared. How were they prepared? Well, they knew cryptography. They've seen digital money attempts before, and I'm pretty sure that as soon as Bitcoin came out and they heard about it, they didn't fade it because they understood how it worked and why that was important. And it's anytime anything new happens, like it's really we've all been in crypto long enough to just not fade anything right off the bat. You can't do it. You have to actually go and look into it and try to do your best to understand because because you're preparing yourself for an opportunity, right? That's why you do that. Because if that opportunity actually comes and you're prepared, you get lucky, right? So it's it's just a kind of message for everybody. It's like try not to fade anything right off the bat. And I know it's like it's just easier to do that, but you might end up benefiting in the long run just by understanding like how things work before, just jumping to conclusions like, oh, this is just like that. And you're just copying that, right? It's just simple. It's easier to say that, but just do your due diligence and come to the conclusion after that. That makes more sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think the mass society just likes convenience. That's why the Apple iPhone out beats the Android, but nothing great comes from just easy, right? So jump into it, and eventually it can become easy.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's and again, this standard is not simple, right? I mean, we've been working on it for months, and we've been talking about it publicly for months. Maybe not into this great detail, but conceptually, we've been talking about it. And even though we've been talking about it for months, we kind of wanted someone else to kind of take this concept and actually roll something like this out. Because we didn't want to do it, and but nobody really did anything, and nobody really does anything with ideas, right? It's up to you with your idea to go and execute. So yeah, it was just a matter of like having this concept kind of like brewing in our head and then the hardest part was putting it on black and white paper, right? How do we get people to understand this? And so we spent months on trying to figure that out. And I wouldn't say we did the best job, but I feel like it's a pretty good start. I don't see too many like people confused specifically about stuff in the document. So I think we did an okay job, but you know, it could always be better.
For sure, for sure. Okay, Maddie, go ahead. You're first, and then block 6, you're after Maddie.
Yeah, if you want to know how to get information out and people to understand, just tell me about it, okay? um, but I just wanted to point out, like, even me, like, when Bitmap was dropping, and then people were saying that Track and the Block Runner were benefiting by using Rarity Garden or sorry, Lux Ordinal to inscribe, blah blah blah. There was that bit of FUD, and then when Tap dropped, I even was like, well, what the hell is this? Is this like a BRC20 replacement, right? Like, you get defensive right away because you get used to something. Um, but so I can see where all these people are coming from, thinking that because you're using a block number, it's a replacement. But that's part of the reason why I was out there just trying to explain it to people, so they didn't do what I did. I mean, I only faded Tap for like 2 hours because Benny came out and explained it, right?
Hmm. Yeah, and you know, like I was saying earlier, we've been talking about it for months. You know, nobody really pays attention until there's a token on the line. And so we knew that when we release this, you have to release a token, right? You can't just release ideas because for the most part, nobody cares, right? They care after there's like, you know, tangible execution like a token. And in the crypto space, if you're releasing a token, people, you know, there's going to be a quick fade and a quick like interest from two different sides, right? And so we had to release this token for people to be forced to understand what is happening, right? Because had we released this document and we didn't really like launch a token, it wouldn't have gotten interest from a lot of people, right? And so that was like the decision that we make. And so if you guys come up with some standard or protocol or framework, launch that framework with a token, and people will listen.
And tell me about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Maddie, you're doing great, man. This your job is definitely not easy. Trying to interpret like all these like, you know, crazy things that pop up in the brain, and you have to go and interpret it and try to explain it to everybody. So you're doing a great job. It's definitely it's definitely something very challenging, and it's something that we deal with as well because we that's what we do is like we're so inherently interested in crypto that we like looking at new stuff and we like trying to explain new stuff, and it's not easy because it takes a ton of research. And so yeah, appreciate your work, Maddie.
Yeah, and one last thing. Once I figure out how to do it perfectly, because I know I've been talking to you guys about it in the DMs. Once I figure out how to do it, I'm gonna make a video on deploying a token just so people understand how to do it.
Oh yeah, yeah, and you'll see it's like the mania should be in like the elements. I think, right? I think it's it's cool because it forces you to learn about Bitcoin, like bits. If you go and do research, bits is actually a representation of the difficulty adjustment. And so it's represented in like this very 32 byte number. But it forces you to look into like how Bitcoin works, like what is Bitcoin and why are these data fields there? Every data field has a purpose to it. And so once you understand all that, then you can find patterns within that data field that you can leverage. And so I think there's there should be a mania on elements, and there's only so many, right? Maybe a few thousand at best. So and they're all out there, right? You just got to go and inscribe it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's the one thing I do love about this non-arbitrary data is that you know, it's teaching people about Bitcoin, like bitmap theory taught people about like the blocks and stuff like that. And so cool. Block 6, you're up, and then Danny, you'll be next.
Awesome. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, you're good.
All right, awesome. So just to digress and just to kind of give you a quick synopsis of what I understand is that you're creating an indexer that's pointing to the 37 elements uh, on Bitcoin, and then taking that non-arbitrary data that already exists on Bitcoin and creating a pattern similar to like IPFS on chain. Am I kind of following you? Am I on the same page or?
Yeah, yeah. So the only thing I would say is there's 37 data fields, and of those 37, you can find a lot of patterns from those fields. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so there's not just a limit to 37, right? It could be 1,000.
So are these on existing blocks? Or these blocks are going to be disseminated from the mempool, from the mining pool? So kind of
Yes.
want to understand that.
Yeah, so once you find an element, you inscribe it. So the first one that we inscribed is called DMT.11.element. So DMT is an arbitrary name. Is we could have picked anything, right? 11 is the field that represents the bits field of the block header, and then you have like the dot element just to make it easier for indexing, right? You have to have some sort of extension, some sort of identifier, right? Element, and so in this particular element, we didn't discover a quote unquote pattern, right? We left the pattern field out because it should be name dot pattern dot field dot element. So we left the pattern field out. So when you do that, you're invoking the entire field, right? The entire bits field. So if you go look up what a bit looks like, right? It's just a number, right? And it's on average it's like 380 million to like 450 million. And so when you invoke the whole field, we're saying I want to take the entire field. When someone owns my block, this particular token block, they own the entire field of the bits field. And so had we put in a pattern, like let's say 123, right? That was my pattern. The element would look like DMT dot 123 dot 11 dot element. And so now we're asking Benny or any indexer to say how many times does 123 occur in the bits field? And so clearly that's going to happen a lot less than 800,000, right? So in the case of a project pointing to that specific element, the blockout would not be up to 800,000. It could be, 50,000 or whatever. And so when, once this thing is mature and Benny has like API calls for everybody to use, when someone discovers an element, there's going to be a new entry in the and like on people's websites, like for example ours, right? When a new element is discovered, it gets added to the registry in the interface, and then any project can say, hey, I like that element. I'm going to point to it. I'm going to create my own PFP project or game project or whatever. And so yeah, there's going to be tons of these elements, but I think there is a cap to the amount of patterns that we can discover.
How are you decentralizing the node on obviously creating your own indexer to be able to point to these data sets?
So
Are you gonna have?
yeah, that's a good question. So this is a common question, like in general in ordinals. It's like how do you decentralize like this indexer thing? Because it doesn't make sense to like kind of depend on Benny all the time, right? Which is from Track. So Track, they're on their way to decentralizing their whole stack, right? And so that means that all of us can participate in like running a node, and if one of our nodes goes down, our indexing doesn't go down. So that's a work in progress, probably beyond the scope of this particular conversation. But yeah, that's what Benny is trying to do with Track.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate speaking with you. Look forward. Congratulations on deploying your project.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
Definitely love seeing people building on Bitcoin.
Hell yeah. Yeah, man. Dude, a year ago, I could never have guessed that we could do all the things that we're doing on Bitcoin. I think it's fascinating, like what's happening. So I don't think you could build anything better on any other chain than what's happening here on Bitcoin. So yeah.
Awesome. All right, Danny, you're up.
Love the convo. Just a quick update. I'd love to integrate this into Easy Mint as we're going to go live on the mainnet. So, Maddie, if we're gonna work in, let's say, in parallel, because, for instance, for those of you who don't know, easymint.app is meant to be a place where you can literally easily mint anything Bitcoin. Just throwing it out there. So I'll definitely dig more into this, and because I want to understand properly um, how this works. If I was looking for resources, but if you can put it in the nest, something that everybody can access to understand more, that would be awesome.
Yeah, Danny, there's this Git book that kind of explains digital matter theory and non-arbitrary tokens. So that reminds me, I'm sure part of the confusion initially was, we've introduced a bunch of new terms, right? One of them is bit informaticist. So bit informatics is just the process of discovering, I guess, patterns within Bitcoin, right? And we've introduced like all these terms. Like there's another one called hybrid token, right? If you really get technical, any mint inscription like BRC20, each mint inscription is technically a non-fungible token, right? It's an NFT. Why? Because each inscription has its own inscription ID and inscription number, right? And your mint is different than my mint, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't exist in our wallets. So technically, everything is a non-fungible token. So with these so we formally recognize that, right, in this spec. We call them hybrid tokens. So if you're a project and you want to create NFTs, well, you can't. You just use the same specification. You treat these as NFTs. But like for example, the NAT token, we're treating these blocks as fungible tokens, right? So first block is the same as the last block. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to kind of wrap your mind around this, and then plus all these like new terminologies. But once you like read the spec a couple of times, it starts making sense. I was like, why these terms exist? Because this is a non-arbitrary like spec, and so we don't want to introduce like words arbitrarily, like for the funsies, right? So yeah, every kind of new word in there has a meaning and a purpose.
You got to make up new smart sounding words into your documentation so people get
Yeah,
excited.
Can treat it with some respect, I guess.
No, man, this has been a great conversation, man. I love the energy today. Appreciate all the questions, interactions. Been great. Um, any other questions for Block Runner before we pass it over to Chris from Chris and Bitmap Valley. Shizzy, go ahead.
Yeah, I got a question. It's got a statement. I just really appreciate you guys being here today, man. I understand you got you got a baby at home, and I know how difficult that can be, and just really appreciate you just taking time out for us and to explain to all 200 people here is absolutely amazing. Appreciate that.
No, thank you, Shizzy. We watch your podcast all the time, you and Yagobi, and it's podcasts are a way to quickly catch up on things. And so I don't know if everyone agrees with that, but it's really the fastest way to stay up to date on stuff because you're kind of leveraging the community to like discover stuff, right? So you guys are doing amazing work. I mean, we consume very little stuff like these days just because we're always out like doing research and trying to figure stuff out. But the little stuff that we consume is the Ordinals Revolution podcast because we can't really, look at everything, and so that that content really helps us out. So I appreciate you guys.
Oh man,
that's awesome.
Yeah, those kind words, brother. And we would say likewise to you guys. We definitely consumed the Block Runner show and learned a lot, and still learning a lot from you guys. So appreciate that. Any other questions? I know people got questions because I was on Twitter this past week, so I saw a lot of people wanting to ask questions about this. But all right, Maddie, we'll go to you, and then if no questions after that, then we're gonna pass it over to Chris. Go ahead, Maddie.
Not a question, just two things to say. Danny, I sent you the docs in your DMs. I tried pinning it at the top here, but it's like spammed with one tweet. And secondly, if you guys are struggling for time to listen to these podcasts, I just do it on my morning commute and my afternoon commute home. Like that's the time when I consume podcasts. I just don't have time any other part of the day, so it's a good way of doing it. And if you get YouTube Premium like I have, you can just play it in your car with the screen off, and then you're not breaking the law, like I did when I made that video.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, you definitely don't want to drive and watch. But and Yogi Bear beat you to the punch, and I sent Danny the docs right whenever he was asking for him. So Yogi Bear comes through. I guess that's my new nickname from Foxy. I'm gonna change my username over there.
Yeah.
I want a timestamp. I want to know who sent it to you first, Danny.
And man, you driving doing that video, man. I was scared for you, bro. I was like, oh no.
Honestly, Agobi was really, really fast. I barely ended the sentence and I already had half of the knowledge there. So, yeah. But thank you to both of you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Maddie. We recorded a podcast earlier this week, and it's just an audio only podcast. It's gonna be released probably in a few hours. But we played like the first 4 or 5 seconds multiple times at the very beginning of your video, Maddie, where you do like this huge sigh, right? Because that really encompassed like our own like feelings this week. It's like just like exhaustion, trying to explain this like back constantly, and then having everybody have kind of like a misinterpretation of what's actually happening. So it's pretty funny. But yeah, this time it's only audio only, just because we didn't have our full crew here. But yeah, it'll be really soon.
Yeah, it was honestly, it wasn't too bad. It was kind of, it was entertaining. It passed time, but then, after a day of doing it, I had to I had to drop out.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, we're gonna go to block 6, and then we'll go to Chris after. Go ahead, block.
Yeah, I'll just make it real short, straight to the point. But this actually just takes care of all the Bitcoin maxi people who talk about arbitrary data. So I get it. Um, yeah, it's definitely the way he's doing it is pointing to non-arbitrary data, which actually makes sense. So congratulations to that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's just a manifestation of like an understanding of what so far has, I think, the most value in the space right now. Is like the non-arbitrariness of things like rare sats and just ordinals in general, the whole basic concept of it, and obviously Bitmap. So talk a little bit more about just like the Bitmap and its potential. You know, DMT is in no competition with Bitmap whatsoever. It's supposed to help Bitmap actually. And as a matter of fact, this whole concept was derived as from Bitmap in the way, because what we wanted to do was this thing called commodities, and this is this boring word commodities, but if you look at the history of humanity, like from the industrial revolution and like everything that we've have up to this point, it was all came from like these raw resources, right? Oil, these metals, right? These commodities. And so it's like, well, how do we do that for the virtual sense? It's like, well, how do we get like hard commodities to come from your virtual ground? And then that's when we really started looking into the block data. It's like, well, it has to come from the blocks because people own the bitmap, right? And so part of like one thing that we haven't really talked about is like, how do you apply DMT to bitmap? And so one of the criticisms that we were receiving was like, oh, you're taking, the data from my bitmap. And really what's happening like in the general sense is that elements point to the data and projects use those elements to create projects. But there's a different side to this, right? The way that you can only extract data from your bitmap is if you create a child inscription for your bitmap. Why is that important? The reason this is sort of like a big deal is because there's an on-chain provenance. right? So, for example, the second token that was released with this standard is called BMT. So it's the bitmap token, and the only way to get it is if you have a bitmap. How do you do that? So you have to create a child inscription from your bitmap. So if you go look up what a parent-child inscription looks like, there's essentially two transactions, and you have to you have to send part of the transaction. You have to send the bitmap as part of the transaction to create the child. That is how you know for sure that you actually own that bitmap. And once that token, that BMT token is extracted, no one else for the rest of time can extract that token from your bitmap, for thousands of years because of this on-chain provenance. And so what does this mean? That means that any one of us can create a token that says if you hold bitmap, you can extract this token from your resource, from your virtual ground, if you will. And what does this do? This forces people to, have like a consensus on first a token, right? This
Yeah,
isn't
it takes care of the. It doesn't. Excuse me, but does it handles the Oracle issue?
yeah, that and this token is non-arbitrary. It's based on block data, right? Someone didn't just come up with a number and then say if you hold the first early blocks you get X amount. Like all that is arbitrary. Like why should early block holders get the most tokens? Like why? Right? Now, if you point to an element that says the value of the block data in the early blocks is higher than the ones in the later blocks, well, at least you can say it's non-arbitrary. And if you like it, go inscribe it. If you don't, forget about it, right? So, so that's why I think like this method is way better than using any arbitrary thing that has occurred in the past, right? So now the community can come to a consensus on which token, right, generated by whoever has like the token to represent the entire bitmap ecosystem, or tokens that represent any vertical that is deployed on top of bitmap. And you don't have to rush to get these tokens, right? They're yours and they're yours forever as long as you hold the bitmap, and you can inscribe it. If you want to wait 1,000 years from now, you can get the exact same BMT token 1,000 years from now. And this is way more scalable, way more just friendly to support future bitmap holders into the future, because we're the first ones saying that bitmap will have millions of holders. It will happen. It's just a matter of time. And then imagine what you could do as a project like IMSO Chris to launch a token to say, for the million holders on bitmap, all you got to do is inscribe this JSON text, and now you have access to you know my game or whatever it is, whatever anyone creates, right? This is a way for a project to deploy their project on top of bitmap in a way where it's on chain, verifiable, and scalable well into the future. Hopefully that makes some sense.
Chris, just a 10-second question. I'm sorry, please kick me when we meet. But one question regarding ordinal numbers. So ordinal numbers right now are a consensus, right? Like we number sats based on some rules and whatnot. Wouldn't this actually be better than that? Or am I understanding this correctly? Because for instance, if right now somebody, let's say, deletes the entire ordinal explorer, and the ordinal theory, all your ordinals are not ordinals anymore in that specific sense. And from my understanding, from what you say, this no longer applies because all the data is directly on chain. You can extract, for instance, this data from chain. Now, and it's not necessarily from, with the bitmaps, it's with the tokens as well.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good kind of like exercise is, could you do this for data outside the blocks? For example, using inscription numbers. Yeah, because that isn't on chain, it's very difficult to point to it in a way where you can kind of trust it, right? You could kind of inscribe things and point to things that are not on chain. You could do that technically. It's very difficult for anyone to have conviction on creating a project that's based on an element that
is sort of like nebulous, right? That doesn't have any hard like data, doesn't have any hard proof that it's going to persist, right? And that's why we call these things elements, because they're sort of innate. They exist whether you believe they exist or not. And so yeah, you can kind of like extrapolate, and in the future, right? There's going to be Bitcoin updates, right? There will be. 1,000 years from now, Bitcoin will probably not look what it looks like today. So we anticipated this happening, and so there's going to be new additions to the fields, right? It could expand from 37 to 40 in 1,000 years. And so yeah, all this stuff gets accounted for in the spec.
Man, that was an amazing conversation. Great points. I love all of it. Now that I feel like I understand it a lot more. Maybe it could have been rolled out in phases, but maybe not. Because whenever you think about ordinal theory, recursion, I'm sure was already created and thought of before it was released, and parent-child as well. But with that being said, maybe you guys have other future releases. Is that the case, or do you feel like as of right now this is kind of all rolled out and it's just kind of open-ended?
Such a good question. So think of elements. Think of what you can do with elements, like in the physical sense, when you combine elements. So we didn't release this part only because we knew that it would probably add additional confusion. But yeah, there's more to elements than just elements, right? So you can combine elements basically. And so there is a formal way of doing that. And so why would you do this? It's like, why would you need to combine elements? Because maybe you, as a project, you want some on-chain proof of logic. Say, for example, you have a transaction hash pattern, let's say 123, that exists on only the I guess the difficulty adjustments, right? Every 2016 blocks, you have a difficulty adjustment. So those are two elements right there. But what if my project, I wanted to say 123 on the transaction hash on every 2016 blocks difficulty adjustment? You need to point to something to identify that. So that something hasn't been released, and I guess we should do it now because it's pretty simple. It's just another JSON structure. It's another thing that you can point to. But yeah, so now you can kind of think there's a whole lot of stuff that can happen once you start combining elements.
Got it. Awesome. Thanks for the breakdown, Will. Okay, guys. I appreciate you, Will, explaining, being up here on stage. I know that, like Shizzy said, having a newborn baby and all that stuff, dedicating the time up here, we really, really appreciate it. But we're going to move over to Chris now from I'm So Chris in Bitmap Valley. Chris, first of all, any thoughts on what we just talked about, right? Like the NAT protocol, DMT. Is that something you're thinking about possibly integrating? We know that you have a new token, Evolve. If you could just update the community.
So that's a misconception, first and foremost. And they're taking our. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me try again. Here we go. Wait a second. They're taking our bitmaps, or however you'd say. They took our jobs. You know what I mean? No, dude, block runners have been awesome. These guys have had my back since the beginning. You're goddamn right. I'm gonna have their back. I've inscribed 110 of these fucking NAP things. So it is what it is. I probably fucked all of them up. I probably own 0, but I have 110 or 106. I'm just rounding up because that's how math works. But anyway, yeah. So here's the thing. I was just afraid tickers were going to run out eventually, and there's not a lot of back-end support for all of this shit. And Benny can build all the indexers he wants, but you have to get people to utilize them. So like, it was kind of an uphill battle for me to get some of them to utilize the bitmap indexer, but it worked. Look at us go. Hoping I can get them to do the same thing for tap tokens and tap protocol. But, if I can't, then I'm going to have to basically build the back end and use the game engine as a UI for an exchange that works with these tap tokens, and that's not going to be easy for everybody in the ordinal space. So I locked up the ticker EVLV, and I put it out there just to whoever wanted some. It's not very important or relevant right this second, but what am I going to use it for? Well, it's going to be a medium of exchange. So there's going to be a conversion rate between the SPL version of Evolve that we also have not released but does exist, and the BRC20 version of Evolve, which does exist because, you know, I had to make it exist, and mint it out, which now I've got a lot of Chinese people sending me DMs, and I just send them the meme of Conor McGregor saying, "Who the fuck is this guy?" You know that meme where he's like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" behind him when he was talking shit. I just send them that because A, they don't know me. B, I don't know them. C, it's half of their bots, right? And so now people are like, "Oh, I missed a mint." You can buy it for cheaper right now than you if you would have paid the fees that night because some bots hit it up, right? So to me, it's almost like, well, this worked out really well for everybody in general because now you don't have to feel like any kind of rush, and you never were supposed to in the first place. But we need a way to bring in more ordinal users into the ecosystem or give them an option to use a form of liquidity they're familiar with, which BRC20s. So if you have some of those BRC20s or you happen to be a person who receives some of our tokens on Solana, whenever you come into Bitmap Valley, if you want to interact with things and you want to do that using the tap tokens, especially our tap token, Evolve, well, you may not know how to do that, or it may be difficult for you to understand. So you can just go buy the BRC20 or the SPL that you're familiar with and come and convert it to the tap in the game engine, and you can just use it. So it's just our way of creating new, I guess, like new ways to make sure that people are comfortable and onboardable while we're still waiting for infrastructure support. So yes, the Evolve token is closely tied to Bitmap Valley in the games, but really we don't want to use a BRC20 for staking and rewards and competition and stuff like that. We want to use our tap token. But as I just explained, not everyone knows what the fuck that is. So how do we get them in there using it? How do we make it easy for them to be interested without asking them for Bitcoin? Well, you put a BRC20 out there and you make it convertible or interchangeable with that tap token inside of your ecosystem.
Love it, man. Love it. Would there be a way, for example, if I was to mint a NAT protocol token, trees or something like that, where it could visually be shown in Bitmap Valley, or am I not connecting that in the correct way?
I mean, I suppose it depends on what you wanted to visually represent that. You know what I mean? If you literally mean trees, sure, but think about how big a tree is and how much space a tree takes up. So whatever piece of data you're going to attach those trees to, you should probably make sure it's not 456,237,846. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of trees, dog.
Yeah, for sure. All right, thanks for answering that question. Maddie, go ahead.
Hey, I gotta go. My son's got a soccer game in like an hour. I just wanted to let Chris know that I sent you a tweet in your DMs that has a indexer, so you can check your NAT tokens.
Thank you.
Awesome. Will, you heard my question. Is that possible to where if you have like I meant, data from what we talked about, right? Could it visually show up in like a bitmap ecosystem, or is that something like that's not going to cross basically?
What was the question though? Like, if you meant what exactly?
So if I meant an NAT protocol token, right, and I name it trees because it's data from a block that my bitmap is on. I know it's separate, but like, could there be visual representations? This is just an outside the box idea of like actual trees of how many tokens I have of that tree.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look into the spec that Satoshi just released, I think it was yesterday, and I don't think it's quite finished yet, but he talks about leveraging the data of your block. I mean, you could leverage the data to create, a non-arbitrary count of trees, right? And so you can do that now with the DMTs. Like you could actually inscribe a token that represents those trees, right? And if people want to trade trees, they can do that now. And what Batoshi is talking about is just like using the data of your block to have a count of trees that is based on the data from your block. So you could do that. So it just depends on what exactly you're trying to accomplish, right? You can tokenize it, or you can leverage it virtually. You can do both, right? It's totally up to you.
See, and I actually like Will's tokenized idea, right? Trading resources or trading objects found. We have a loot box system we designed for a hack and slash game that's being worked on. And obviously, it's been put on the back burner for Bitmap Valley, but it's like 60% of the way done. And it's supposed to be basically mimic the thing we built in Unreal Engine, but accessible from your browser because no one downloads the game we built in Unreal Engine. They could not be bothered by it. So we're looking to, I basically I like the idea of tokenizing things that are easily tradable and can represent something else inside of the virtual world, very much like we would do with CNFTs or SFTs on Solana. So, these little token concepts and the ability to move them around with a little less friction using tap will actually make these sorts of things, more viable in the future. And so whenever the idea is opening a loot box should have items in there that aren't all one of one, but they all serve some sort of purpose. And so the trees example would be like a wood resource if you were in some sort of farming game, right? Or you could do stars. Think about how we let you do the background of the instance, and it's got stars in the sky. Well, maybe I might choose a piece of data off of the bitmaps that now represent the stars that show up in your sky, so that
Dude,
the
that's
stars.
perfect.
You see what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
absolutely. I get it.
Think of it like this, like in the physical sense, when Christopher Columbus settled in the United States, he landed on this land, and then people just sort of like spread out. And when they settled, people discovered like, hey, I have this metal underground, I have this oil underground, but everyone has an equal chance to discover commodities under the ground. And so what IMSO Chris is saying is like, let's inscribe these commodities, right? These tokens, that this essentially this pattern that exists within the virtual ground, and let's call it wood, right? And so anyone who creates a game, they can leverage the wood token, and then any other game that needs wood could also leverage the wood token. So now we have like this shared economy, right? It's not anybody. It isn't a bunch of game creators creating their own ecosystems in a closed environment. Now it's like a completely open environment. And so if my virtual ground has a ton of wood, then I have a natural advantage to participate in these games that recognize wood, for example, right? And so now apply that to like anything from like a basic commodity like wood to something more complex like plutonium, and you could come up with like crazy stuff, right? And it's all non-arbitrary, and it is what it is, right? You're on that virtual land and you have plutonium. Well, you have access to like some sort of ability and some function, some game.
Well, hold on, and they're also inscriptions. So now I can make you have a flux capacitor, plutonium, X amount of metal, X amount of
That's right.
rubber, and then you can build a fucking DeLorean that travels
right.
through time. You know what I mean? Because you have X amount of this inscription, this inscription, this inscription, this inscription. I'll allow you to send all of those to me. We'll combine them, and you'll receive back an inscription that represents the DeLorean.
That's
so
right.
now you've got materials that you can use to make items that are secondary sellable. So these are really just these are already concepts that we were working on for the Solana blockchain, but they're all arbitrary. With DMT theory and DM theory, DMT, we could use non-arbitrary numbers that are static that are attached to block data to create these resources and instances. And since there's 820,000 different blocks almost in existence, there'd be plenty of resources for a sustainable long-term project. And then think about this, how many people have already inscribed these different resources? You don't have to be part of Bitmap Valley at all. You could just build a game that utilizes these token resources, and you would know how many were in existence and how
That's
many
right.
could be created. So you could build the rules of your game and your tokenomics around that knowledge.
Yeah.
It's good.
And not
It's
only
a good
that,
concept.
the what's underrated about this concept is that functionality that you speak of, Chris, can work for thousands of years. Right? You don't have to depend or wait on anybody. You don't need a server. It's like it's logic that can be recognized for thousands of years, right? The wood token can be used for thousands of years, right? That's a big deal, and I think that's what's required to create some sustainability, right? We've seen sort of like the game space in Web3, right? GameFi not work out too well, right? There's reasons for that, right? We probably don't have all the tools to make it sustainable, and we probably don't have the right mindset to create games that will last for thousands of years. I mean, who thinks about that, right? And so when we have these digital elements in our virtual ground, they're going to last for thousands of years. So then now you get to think as a creator, what can you build that will last for thousands of years, right? So I think the creativity is a little bit more wider with something like this in the arbitrary space.
Now that you've asked that question, I'm going to have to figure out a way to use non-arbitrary data to create a version of Tetris so that it can last for thousands of years. You know what I'm saying? You can find that the Egyptians could have found Tetris and figured it out. You know what I mean? Like anybody, dude, Tetris is the best.
Yeah, I think that's what's fun about this is that you get it's a new tool that allows you to be more creative, right? And so yeah, it's fun actually.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm excited to see where this goes, because I do feel like non-arbitrary data can allow more people to come to consensus more strongly, just because the logic will kick in eventually where they see the data coincides with supply of token and all this other stuff. So, Chris, I wanted your opinion on Solana, and this will probably be the last topic, and then whatever announcements you have, Chris. But Solana having the SLP 20, and then you're hearing about AVAX, Polygon, all these inscriptions. Do you feel like this is like
Gay? Oh, sorry. What?
Do you feel like it's just a fad that they're doing? They're trying to jump on this train, or do you feel like they see there's a purpose?
It makes me mad because I already knew we could inscribe things to the Solana chain. I already knew that. We know that. It's just not. It's not rational. It doesn't make sense. It's better to use tokenized assets like NFTs and SPLs to create functionality because it's less logic and work on the smart contract. Things like Arweave and Shadow Drive are also indestructible blockchains that will never shut down unless a global catastrophe happens. Like people treat IPFS like it's like certain IPFS chains, I guess, like they're Amazon cloud servers, and they are not. Shadow Drive and Arweave are immutable, and you cannot remove them unless you own the actual private key, and you can even turn that off. The DAA, which is the DJ Ape Academy, actually made all their shit immutable, so there's nothing you could do about it, to where they had to release a version 2 of their NFT for people to basically, I guess, convert their original ape into a V2 ape that was mutable so they could have trait swapping, which has been incredibly profitable for a lot of the users. It's done very well for that ecosystem. And we do trait swapping on chain using Raindrop protocol. So most people who are using these SPL 20s, did you guys ever stop to think how the fuck we do on-chain trait swapping? Come on. Like, this shit is not, like, it's a waste of Solana is what it is. You're wasting Solana. You're wasting time. You're wasting soul. You're wasting everything dealing with SPL 20s, in my opinion, because this isn't revolutionary for Solana. not even close. But for Bitcoin, it is. And that's the difference here. On Bitcoin, it's also non-arbitrary because the blocks are reasonable. On Solana, how many transactions do you think we've confirmed this week alone? So like a Sol map, a Solana map instead of a Bitmap, that would never work. We've just this week we've confirmed millions and millions of transactions. You know what I'm saying? We do like on a normal day with the amount of users currently on Solana, we're doing like 7,000 TPS. You know what I'm saying, dude? There's 24 hours in a day. You know what I'm saying? There's 60 minutes in an hour. There's 60 seconds in a minute, dude. It's like that's so many fucking transactions. It's tens of millions of transactions in a week or something that Solana is able to confirm. So you can't. I mean, those numbers might as well be arbitrary. You know, like what the fuck, dude? You're talking about a blockchain that after FireDancer is released can do 8 billion confirmations a day. 8 billion confirmed transactions a day is what Solana will be looking at, if not more, when FireDancer is on mainnet. Okay. That's too many numbers. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make sense. How are you deriving value from something that is going to have 8 billion more created tomorrow? That's like humans, dude. So it's just the Bitcoin, it makes sense on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's very mathematical in this way, and its intent has always been pure through its mathematics. So for me, using mathematical theories and permanent, unchangeable data that is fully immutable and decentralized, like that's a reason to do this. There's already been solutions created for the other chains that don't require any of this. So yes, I think it's a hype-driven narrative, and I think it's a waste of time and effort. I think the same people who are wasting their time making SPLs, let's back up a little bit, because 8-bit, I'm okay with him doing it. He's exploring. He's a learner. I've watched him learn everything. He's going to learn as much as possible. And I know he comes from Solana, so it's really cool for him to take the experience and knowledge that he's gaining on Bitcoin and start to embrace and enjoy an original blockchain that he, was a fan of before all the bullshit went down, which everybody who turned against Solana, fuck them, but that's not what 8-bit did. That's not what I did. That's not what we all just said. Okay, well, we know Solana is going to be Solana, and we know that it'll survive this, so there's no reason for us to slow down. And the Bitcoin stuff is very interesting, but I wasn't interested until Bitmap. So the same thing that made me interested in Bitmap, and the same reason me and the Block Runner guys ever connected in the first place, is the same thing that interests me about, their DMT, and interests me about just tap and pipe and runes. And we need something more fungible here. We need a way to transfer data that we can confirm early and not have to worry about being front ran. So with Satoshis or Bitcoin payments, you have to wait for at least one confirmation on chain. Well, that didn't used to be the case. You used to be able to send Bitcoin somewhere, and at 0 confirmations, you could just accept that Bitcoin and add it to their balance and let them use it, because within 10 or 20 minutes that Bitcoin's going to be confirmed and you're going to have possession of it. Today, that's not how it works. Today, I can send out a Bitcoin transaction for, two Satoshis per VByte, and you could see 0 on chain and add it to my balance. Let's say it's a poker site or a casino, and I use that money and I decide I want that money back. Well, I send another transaction to one of my wallets with a higher fee, and it gets kicked through first, and that money transfers to my wallet instead of your website. So I can front run my own transactions using a higher fee on Bitcoin now because of SegWit, etc. So it's challenging to create a pleasurable user experience with these delays. And I think having some of these non-arbitrary token standards and some of these, protocol enhancements like TAP protocol, the one I am most fond of, I think that will allow us to make transactions faster and simpler as well. I don't necessarily think they'll be cheaper. Who knows? We'll find out. But, they'll at least be faster, because once I see that transaction confirmed or that agreement between you two, whatever represents that in the virtual space, I can transfer that asset, because the confirmations really don't mean that much to me in the short term. And they don't mean that much to you either, because you're just going to be using that inside of our virtual environment. Again, why the BRC20 even exists as an interchangeable token is for markets as well. So if you can convert, I'll just tell you guys, 5 evolve will convert to 1 tap evolve. Why? Well, because there's 75 million of each token, and it'll be the same rule with the Solana token. 5 of those tokens equal 1 of the evolve token on tap, and the evolve token on tap will only be available through our game. And the only way you can earn that passively is by having one of the ordinals or being a founding district member willing to stake your properties. Okay? So the evolved token on tap will be distributed passively to founders districts and ordinal holders. Past that, it'll be a very main part of the currency ecosystem of Bitmap Valley and all mini games that are attached to it. So if you want to be part of those and you don't know how, well, you can just go buy some of the BRC20, come to the engine. For each 5 of those BRC20s, you can convert that to 1 tap token, and now you can use those tap tokens inside of the ecosystem. And you can even come with your Solana wallet, connect, deposit evolve from Solana, and we will give you tap tokens to your account in Bitmap Valley. Now, eventually, we can convert and burn those when tap is indexed and accepted throughout all the different major wallets, and we don't have to have any middleman. But right now, if you want to use Xverse or Unisat, got to use BRC20s, friend, you know? So it's just, man, I could talk about this forever, because all I've been thinking about is tokenomics lately. You know what I mean? Like, and how do we create liquidity in an ecosystem that doesn't have liquidity pools, right? So we're going to need, it's almost like wrapping an asset. That's what it made me think of. It made me think about when you bridge an asset from one chain to another, there's a wrapped token that represents the market value of the asset that you exchanged it for. Okay, well, what's the conversion rate? 1 to 1. Well, what if it was 5 to 1? Okay, doesn't really matter. You just have to set the rules at the beginning. So now that helps derive a value not only for the BRC20, but also the tap token. And if the tap token and the BRC20 cost a certain amount, or if the Solana token and the tap token cost a certain amount, that translates to what the BRC20 should value at. You see where I'm going with this? If they have a static conversion rate and both supplies can be converted into 1, I still have 25 million tokens left over. That's used for distribution of rewards to founder district and ordinal holders, and maybe we take a small amount of those 25 million and use them for tournaments or something like that. But basically, I can have enough supply from the tap token without having an outrageous supply and devaluing it completely. We can keep value high on that token based on the conversion rate from the other 2 tokens and the use cases attached to all 3 tokens in general. And then you still have secondary markets to sell them on. So it's almost like you can sell your tap tokens on Unisat. How? By converting them to the BRC20 in the game, and then taking the BRC20 and listing it on Unisat. Now, I hope in the future that's not the case, that we could just list our tap tokens on these exchanges. But until we can, I've come up with a solution. And that's just, that's how we work. So we are like 30 spots left on Bitmap Valley founder districts, and then we're shutting it off. Obviously, there's still a few people that need to send numbers, but we're shutting it down. And then we'll start moving on to secondary for Bitmap Valley founder districts, and start pushing out more art of the Ordinal and start building the avatars for the Ordinals. So yeah, I pinned it up top. If you guys want to get one of the Ordinals, there's a lot of utility coming to these things, including a 1-to-1 3D avatar that matches your pixel PFP. And then obviously there's going to be passive options for tokens that convert to other assets on Bitcoin and Solana. And then we have a whole bunch of different games that you guys will be playable characters inside of. since we will be generating an avatar for each of your ordinals. This will also give us the ability to start building out new utility frameworks and back-end logic that allows us to basically verify and generate ordinals using their traits in the 3D world and actually give you that feeling of like, this ordinal and this avatar really is me and my playable character, because in all these games and all these virtual worlds, I am represented by this thing, even on Twitter. So every metaverse that you're in, that's you. And I'm very excited about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Chris has been here from the beginning when he first got in with the bitmaps, and he's been building in the slow times and the more energy times. He's just consistent. 30 spots left, so y'all go check that out if you have a bitmap, to get a bitmap Valley district. Excited to see, man. Like that's a good thing about what he's building, is he does have that crossover from Solana as well. So he's taken me and Shizzy into Bitmap Valley and shown us like his plans and stuff, and it's very, very exciting. So y'all check that out. But we've been going for 3 hours, man. We appreciate all of y'all. 200 plus listeners consistently today, man. A couple shout outs in the crowd. Jake XBT, what's up, brother? Johannes, Robin from Liquidium, Shamana, varying viewpoint. Sorry if I missed anybody, Mr. BRC, and then all the amazing speakers today on stage: Chris, Blockrunner, Mattyverse, Benny, of course, Foxy, Recursiveverse, Jeffrey, um, Shizzy. You want to finish this out?
Yeah, and don't forget the base community. Shout out Bean and all the base guys, man. We're part of that community, and that they're always supporting us. So definitely got to shout them out. Yeah, I just really appreciate everyone listening today. Absolutely amazing. We started this space, I don't know, a couple months ago, and every Saturday morning between 8 and 11, we always bring you guys the best builders. And today, I think we had the best of the best. So it's been absolutely amazing. We appreciate you guys listening. And we'll be back here next week and every week, Saturday morning, 8 to 11. And yeah, and definitely check out ordinalrevolution.com. Our website dropped 2 weeks ago. We're putting out the best articles for you guys. Yagobi's really putting in the time on that. So definitely give that a check out. And putting out videos every single day for you guys on the YouTube channel. So definitely check that out. Yeah, just appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.